Welcome into Boxing Scene Today Live. That's right, so much news to get to, not just inside the ring, but outside the ring as well. Well, Lamont Roach Jr., you know him, a staple here on Pro Box TV. A couple draws in a row that have elevated his profile, but now get another shot fighting for a title. The WBC has mandated that he will fight William Zepeda. Excellent fighter, great fight, but alongside the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, we get to throw around and discuss first thing, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the fight, not getting a rematch with either guy. Of course, a draw with Gervonta Davis. We know that isn't going to happen anytime soon. And then after that, of course, it was Pitbull. And this idea that, unfortunately, gentlemen, he's going to be getting a title opportunity again, but it won't be a rematch with either fighter that he got a draw with. So, Chris, in terms of step up, step down, the excitement level, before we get into nuts and bolts, what's your thought on this instead of any of the rematches?
Just the fight alone, I mean, it's a good fight.
Yeah.
I think the level is being maintained where Roach is staying in big fights, you know, coming off the tail of the Pitbull Cruz fight, the Gervonta Davis fight. This is still a high-level opponent in Zepeda, obviously coming off the Shakur loss, but he's still...
so he's coming off the Shakur loss and getting a title fight for a vacant title.
Yes.
Vacant.
Love the never upstanding the rules. Love that.
So, I mean, that rule is apparently gone.
Obsolete, yeah.
Yeah,
everybody gets title shots coming off losses
rule,
now. Yeah.
At least in terms of...
It's been changed.
WBC
But somebody announced that it's been changed, or we just find that it's been changed just because guys coming off losses constantly getting title shots.
So I guess it is.
Oh, that's
that's the wild wild west that is boxing. But in terms of the fight itself, I actually like the fight. I think even stylistically, I think it's a good fight. You've got Roach, who's got that Lamont Roach, who's got that DMV style. He's a good counterpuncher. Has shown himself to be extremely capable at the world class level. You got Zepeda, who has shown himself to be extremely capable, but also comes forward, throws a lot of punches. I think stylistically, strategically, it's a fun fight. And in terms of how much does it matter, it does matter because Zepeda is one of the top dogs at 135, even though he's coming off a loss. Roach coming off of two very well-known, well-publicized draws. It's still a high-level fight, and Roach gets another shot at a title fight in a weight class where he fought Gervonta, but also a step down from his last title attempt. But Roach is meritocracy still works because Roach is performing well and still getting opportunities, which is good to see. But I think in terms of the fight, it's a good fight.
I don't know if it's a step down. I don't know if Davis would have beat Zepeda. He didn't fight anybody near these levels to begin with, right?
No, I said step down in terms of the weight. Back from 40 back down to 135.
35. Okay, yeah, 35. Because Shakur's old title. Yeah,
it is at 35.
Shakur's old title. So this is where the controversy of Shakur being stripped and now was vacant, and so this is where the WBC lightweight title goes now. Okay.
But does this also tell us that Shakur's not coming back down to 35?
Unless he wants a title back. Right? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of options for Shakur Stevenson. He's sort of become the jewel of those weights, right?
Yeah,
so
those weights, yeah.
He can sort of make his own way at this point and probably be favored no matter which direction he goes. That's how good he is. But in the meantime, I do like this fight. It's stylistically. I don't like the politics of it. I wish guys would hold up that rule of not being able to fight for a title, even though it's constantly happening. But yeah, it's not the worst fight in the world. Roach and Zepeda. Funny enough, not only is Zepeda coming off a loss, but Roach coming off 2 draws. Right. Nobody's coming off any wins here. Going into a title fight, But,
4 different weight classes in 4 world title fights, by the way, for Lamont Roach.
30, 35, 40,
back down to 35. Yeah.
So the Pitbull fight was a world title fight?
That was 140 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but it wasn't a title fight, was it?
Yes, it was. That's 3 in a row for him.
That was a world title fight?
3 world title fights without a loss in 3 different weight classes. Now it's 4.
Which title was the Pitbull fight?
Let me look it up.
The WBA interim?
All right, with these interims.
So,
yeah. All right, yeah.
Yeah, very good, Chris. Thank you.
The interims.
I believe so.
But when you look
I sometimes forget. Sometimes we have to count these interim titles.
Sometimes you got to count.
In my mind, they're not titles. All right, guys.
Sometimes you do.
I don't know how you guys feel.
I will say this though: there's so much movement in those weight classes. Interim titles turn into real titles very quickly.
Real fast.
No, they're supposed to, but instead, guys stay interim champion for 2 years, and they just collect sanctioning fees from both the real champion and the interim champion. That's supposed to turn into real title.
How many guys at 35 have been upped based off of interims? It's been a bunch
Davis.
Gervonta Davis, and then there was others too. Might have been, was Zepeda upped?
No, was it? No. Zepeda wasn't WBC lightweight champion. That was a vacant title fight, I think, with Shakur and Zepeda. Because when Haney left the weight class, all those titles became vacant, remember?
That's right.
Haney was undisputed lightweight champion.
How much pressure right now is on Lamont Roach? You called it perfectly, Christopher. High-profile draws, but draws nonetheless. This idea that, you know, those were obviously Isaac Pitbull Cruz and then Gervonta Davis. Big underdog against Gervonta Davis. The favorite against Pitbull Cruz. But how badly does he need to break out with the win with a great year, but without a win to go with it? What's the pressure on him, Chris?
No, he needs a win. He needs a win. He needs a title. He sees himself as world class and a world champion, and I think he's deservedly so in his past performances. But yeah, you can't just keep getting draws and you know, staying status quo. So he's got to get over that hump. Zepeda's not an easy guy to get over, though. So this is another tough opportunity for Roach.
All right, so devil's advocate though, how much of a high is Zepeda? He did in looking back now, especially the way Shakur looked against Teofimo. He looked pretty good against Shakur.
Decent fight
in terms of competitive. He still wasn't competitive, but compared to everybody else, he was competitive, right? But the 2 fights before that, he was a Farmer, and he looked pretty bad in the first Farmer fight. You know, and what kind of a level is Zepeda on that he's in this title fight? You know, is this a big opportunity for Roach, despite the styles being difficult because you're going to be both pocket fighters? Is it a big opportunity for Roach that he has to win this fight? Because I don't know that Zepeda's at its highest level anymore either. You know,
certainly not
in
at
terms
the
of
level.
The way that he's looked.
But I think, Champ, you just made the point. Like, in hindsight, the loss to Shakur is way more acceptable, and it's like, oh,
but he still got dominated.
Yeah, but it's Shakur. Everyone gets dominated.
Yeah, but what about the Farmer fight? The Farmer came back and got knocked out in a round by Schofield after that rivalry with Zepeda. You know, so yeah, I feel like Roach, the stage is set. Not easy, but the stage is set for him. He's got to come through this one if he's going to live up to this expectation. Now, he's done a good job last year. This is, and no title fight is supposed to be that easy, so it's not easy. But at the same time, this is a moment for him where he can really come around here. And
you think betting line, he'll be the favorite?
You know what? I think so. I think maybe slightly.
I think he'd certainly be the favorite amongst experts. I'm not sure if Vegas does.
It's a tough fight to call. I mean, it's not either way. I wouldn't bet it.
I'm looking to see if there are odds here right now.
Maybe the distance.
I would, distance would be good. Oh, now you're getting into your
degen
betting
into the woods
advice. That's a whole different show, guys. Don't tune into that one later.
No odds yet on it, but what I'm curious that I can find, what I'm curious about is Chris, is it fair to say Zepeda, in the eyes of at least the casual fans, is maybe a level below Isaac Pitbull Cruz and certainly Gervonta Davis, to the point where does Roach have to shine and look good, look like he's above that level? Is that how a lot of fans are going to see this, or no?
Well, Zepeda's, relative to those other fighters that you mentioned, it's more about what are his big wins compared to those guys' big wins. And in terms of profile, I think he has a big profile, especially with the Mexican fan base, but not as big as Cruz, because Cruz was like rocking and rolling. Mexican fans love Cruz because of his style. But Zepeda's got a similar style too, not as hard of a puncher, but throws a ton of punches, is in your face all night long, makes for entertaining fights for sure. So I think maybe a little less shine than the Cruz fight, but not out of the ballpark by any means.
When you look at it, the X factor here that we have not gone over is during the Isaac Pitbull Cruz fight, broke his hand, had to fight with the back half of that fight with a broken hand. Actually boxed extremely well, better one-handed than he did two-handed. But Chris, Paulie, both you guys have had hand injuries. You've had multiple hand surgeries. When you look at it, Paulie, is the recovery and how he looks, is that something to be watching? We had similar questions about it with Shakur Stevenson, yes?
Yeah, because you have a surgery on your hand. You're not coming back to do regular work on it. You're punching with it. So it's got to be good. It's got to be, obviously, operated on. You got to go to therapy. And you got to be able to hit with it consistently in training so that you can prepare adequately for a fight. So there's a few steps that have to be gone through. When was the fight with Pitbull? Was it December?
December.
And when is this fight signed for?
Let's see. The fight's been ordered. I don't think there's a timeline on it.
I always say this on hand injuries and recovery. Timeline's always fluid. And Champ, I'm sure you would agree. Because re-injuries, even minor ones, happen during
30 days to reach term, so we should know in the next month.
So we got time.
And then the 30 to reach term, and then there's a date allowed. Yeah. I mean, by the time that fight actually happens, I think he'll have had time to know if the hand is good or not, and he'll be going. It's a time for it to get healthy if it's done right.
But if it's not 100%, do you still fight? Yes.
Hello, Chris doesn't wait for an answer. Yeah,
yes.
Is there pressure on Lamont Roach, compromised or not, to get out there and get a win after 2 draws?
You don't want to lose the opportunity. They don't. I mean, granted, Roach has been getting a lot of opportunities as of late, but even there was a big gap between him getting the Cruz fight and the first Gervonta fight. Gervonta fight was in March. The Cruz fight was in December. He wanted to fight long before that. He thought he was getting a rematch with Gervonta in between that time. So yeah, you want to miss opportunities because it seems like if Roach is not willing, does Zepeda then campaign to try and get a different fight to stay busy, while he is recovering? I don't know. It's one of those things where the opportunities, yes, Roach has gotten a bunch lately, but it's hard to pass them up because they're usually few and far between. And how many chances is Roach going to get?
Right? Yeah, at this age, you don't want any opportunities to pass you by.
Yeah.
The idea that as we just said, compromised or not, he may have to fight anyway. When are we going to know in the fight? Is there any way to know in camp? Is there any way to know ahead of time if he's okay from anything you're seeing? Or is it the kind of thing where we won't know if his hand's good until he has to crack in an actual fight and then we'll know? Paulie, tell me.
Yeah, I mean...
It was hard to tell in the Cruz fight.
Yeah, it was hard to tell in the Cruz fight.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Cruz is so bad against back foot counterpunchers, that it's almost like it benefited Roach to hurt his hand because I felt like he started fighting better. He started getting on the back foot, countering and using some of those backward punches. With Zepeda, obviously Zepeda also, these kind of fighters will have trouble with back foot counterpunchers, but I think Zepeda may be a little bit more, have a couple more layers to his style than does Pitbull. So you're gonna need those hands to be healthy, I think, in order to get by Zepeda. I assume whatever Zepeda has left, he's gonna be hungry to prove himself because he's not coming off the best of performances lately as well. Like I said, the 2 Farmer fights and the Shakur Stevenson fight. He needs a rebound performance as well to really reestablish himself among the elite of the weight class.
When you look stylistically at it, Chris, and the nuts and bolts of this fight, do you think it might look like the second half of the Isaac Pitbull Cruz fight where Zepeda is the aggressor and Lamont Roach is going to be doing his counterboxing style, as you said, heavy on the back foot? How do you see this fight going as far as the nuts and bolts of it?
I think it looks like the Tevin Farmer fights. I think Roach has enough ability to adjust at range. I think he probably hits a little bit harder than Tevin, and at this stage he's fresher based on age. Tevin was a little older when he had those fights, but Tevin showed enough slickness, enough sharp skill that I think Roach possesses that it could look a lot like that. Because even in those fights early on, Zepeda was pouring on the pressure and Tevin was in the pocket, getting caught with a bunch of shots but finding holes and finding openings. So I do think this is a high contact fight, and we've said this about Roach. He is a high contact guy. He stays in the pocket. He's not going to be circling around the ring, getting away from you. He's not like Shakur in that way that he's not going to completely shut you off. There's going to be exchanges. So I think early on we could see something very similar to the Tevin Farmer fights, and then it's going to come down to can Roach get the respect from Zepeda the way Tevin did. Tevin dropped him, so Tevin was able to crack him with shots that made him think twice.
He didn't see them.
Yeah, he didn't see them. The shots you don't see are the ones that hurt you the most. So I think stylistically it's an excellent fight, and it could be a lot of fun for both men.
Do you think, Paulie, that Lamont Roach could be a breakout star with the win? He was right there with Gervonta Davis, got a controversial draw. We know about a phantom knockdown in that fight. This idea that he could be right there if he can just get that signature win after 2 high-profile draws.
I think, listen, it'll be great for him. It'll be great for him to get the win, become a 2-division world champion. It'll continue to allow him to establish himself at world-class level in and around these weight classes. I think a star is a bit of a stretch. You're beating William Zepeda, who, again, is not coming off of the hottest streak, but he certainly continues to establish himself, as he did already in 2025, among the best fighters in these weight classes and remains in the running for all the big fights, especially as a world champion.
When I look at Lamont Roach and what we've seen out of him so far, at 135, you got Raymond Murataya, you got Jadir Herrera, you have Abdullah Mason, WBO. With all the names out there, is it smart to stay at 35? Just coming back down from 140 pounds, is it smart to stay at 35, take on one of those champions, try to unify Chris? What would be his next step, or the step for the winner, whatever it might be?
I think ultimately Roach belongs to 35. I think that's the weight class where I don't foresee him being able to make 30 anymore. I know, Champ, we spoke about him potentially going back down to 30 and trying to get those fights. I don't know if that's a possibility anymore at this stage and his age and fighting in higher weight classes. 140, he just didn't look the size for it, and Cruz is not a big 40-pounder, so it made more sense for him to go up and try and pick that title off and then look for bigger fights. But with the draw, he's kind of in a limbo a little bit because he doesn't have a title in that weight class. And I don't know if the other 40-pounders are the kind of guys he's looking to fight right now, and especially if you have an opportunity for a title at 35. But I think 35 is a lot of young, hungry guys, and Roach could kind of be the quote unquote the old head up there. He could be the guy to beat because he's got more I think maturity. I think he's come into his own recently. So I like him at 35, and I like this fight.
Skill-wise, when you look at what the other guys bring at 135 pounds, could Lamont Roach be the guy at 135? When you look at Abdullah Mason, when you look at the other fighters,
he's good.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's guys like. Even guys who aren't champions like Andy Cruz will be a tough fight though. Yeah. Murtai I think is not going to last that long. Abdullah Mason keeps ascending. He's going to be very, very good. Even the guy Abdullah beat Noakes is still a viable contender who can fight and can punch. There's just no shortage of good opponents that can make fun fights with Roach. One thing about Roach is his fights typically entertain. He's got a good fan-friendly style, so I think you wouldn't mind seeing him against just about anybody.
Obviously, when we talk about titles, you talk about, of course, the WBC title being vacant, lightweight belt we just spoke about. Jai Opetaia has to make a decision. According to the IBF, he will be stripped if he fights for the Zuffa title this weekend. And Zuffa has said over and over they're not recognizing other titles except their own. This idea that we know camps are being made between the Zuffa faction, maybe everybody else, and that everybody else is including the traditional titles, right? WBO, IBF, WBC. Jai Opetaia is the first line in the sand for this, that if you fight for that title, you don't fight for this one. First off, before we even start about what his decision might be, the idea that the IBF is saying it's us or them, Chris, no surprise to you, huh?
No, from the IBF, they stick to their guns, and they're one of the governing bodies that will stick to the ethics of their rule set. They will strip guys, they will enforce things, they will declare mandatories at the fight, and right here they're really drawing a line in the sand.
They were the only ones that the balls to strip Canelo.
Exactly, that's exactly my point. They're the only ones who have consistently stuck by their rule set, so I'm not surprised it's coming from them. I'm just surprised because it's a very bold move. You're going against, it's the old guard versus the new world order, and they're drawing a line in the sand.
What's the surprise though? The Zuffa title is basically like the IBO, the IBA. Like
because none of the
nobody cares about those belts, just like nobody's gonna care about this title. Like it's the same thing. Like they're being treated just like all the other secondary world titles have always been treated.
But it's different because no one's ever gone against the IBO and be like, oh, if you fight for the IBO, you can't fight for ours. They've allowed them to have both.
They're allowed them to have both. Yeah, but the IBO also didn't draw a line in the sand and say, okay, you can't unify. Well, typically, sanctioning bodies will allow unification. That's the way it goes. So
the war has been declared. The shots were fired already.
So if nobody was doing that, so of course you're going to allow unifications and all that other stuff. It's part of the game. It's part of the business. This is... also the IBO and the IBC and all those small WBF, whatever those small weight classes.
NABO.
Those small, the NABO is continental.
That's continental.
But any of those smaller world title factions, they would never have the balls to say, oh, you can't unify with a major world title. They actually wanted to be aligned with a major world title so that it legitimized the champions they had. They didn't want secondary champions that weren't getting also the major titles, because aligning them with the major titles allowed them to become legitimate. Like the WBO, when it started becoming a big deal, it was a big deal in Europe at first, but then little by little it bled into North America. You started seeing unifications with Nassim Hamed, with Cesar Soto, WBC, WBO unification, or Tom Johnson getting the IBF title and then unifying with his WBO title. And little by little they sort of bled into the mainstream of the world titles. With Zuffa, it's different. They're drawing a line in the sand, so you're basically going to get treated like a stepchild of the sanctioning bodies, and so the major ones are going to be like, no, dude, you can't play with us. And so, I'm not shocked here. Opetaia's under contract with Zuffa, so he's going to get stripped of the IBF title. I don't see how that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's not really a choice to be made. He knew this signing up, that he would probably have to be excised from the other titles, and that's a choice he's willing to make for the money or the exposure, being with Zuffa. So, Chris, they're saying it's a choice, not really a choice. He made that choice when he signed up in the first place.
Maybe because there was no cruiserweight division in the original rule set of Zuffa. There wasn't going to be a cruiserweight, and they made a concession for a big signing with Opetaia. And then I believe they even came out and said, no, Opetaia is going to be allowed to fight for other titles. Wasn't that a messaging?
Originally, yes.
So the messaging is very muddled. Yeah. It's very muddled.
But by that point, the IBF was like, nah, you guys are out of the circle of trust.
Right. Well, like I said, the war had been declared, and the IBF is sticking to their guns.
Yeah, but the question is that managerially, Paulie, if you're Jai Opetaia, one of the issues is, hey, if we sign this deal and we go with Zuffa, we might be excised. It was at least a possibility in the beginning that you might have to choose a side, and this is the side you're going to be on.
Yeah, I mean, based on the way everything looked from the outside looking in,
yes,
it was kind of known to everybody already, even before he signed that. So I don't know what kind of inner conversations he had, but from the outside looking in, yeah, this was already known based on the way Zuffa had made their announcement and the way they had said they were going to go about their business. So from the way it looked to the outside, when Jai signed this deal, we kind of already knew, okay, well, it looks like his IBF title is probably going to go soon, because there's no way he's going to be allowed to bring it together, regardless of anything else that might have happened behind closed doors in that conversation. With Opetaia, again, he's the best cruiserweight in the world. I think, anybody would be hard pressed to pick against him against anybody. But, the way.
Don't you think he needs to fight Zurdo? Or he needed to before this
he would have beat him, though. I mean,
he would have, but you want to see number one and number two.
Of course, you would have. But the way, I don't know. Again, I was in Australia, and I was told that he doesn't sell well. And then from what I heard, the team Opetaia was angry at me for saying that he wouldn't sell well. But then Eddie Hearn comes out and says, "Buddy, I tried to promote this guy. He doesn't sell 2 tickets." So I don't understand why they want from me for speaking the truth. Like I'm just here. Don't kill the messenger, dude. You know what I mean? Like you know what you sell. Like you can't pretend you are what you're not. What he is a world class fighter. What he is a world class fighter. But the fact that the Zuffa signing made sense to me based on what I had heard in Australia, that, okay, they have a hard time moving him, have a hard time marketing him. So, he should be making more money based on how good he is. And maybe Zuffa was the way that he could get more notoriety, So the Zuffa, once I had heard that, I would have been shocked if I didn't go to Australia and heard about the Zuffa deal. Because I'd have been like, man, a big name like this, a big name player like this is going to sign with Zuffa. That doesn't make sense to me. But based on the fact that I've been in Australia and they have a hard time moving him, despite how great he really is as a fighter, it made sense to me that he would sign with Zuffa. Okay? Maybe because you try your hand at a different angle as far as getting notoriety. This kid does deserve a lot of notoriety based on how good he is. So you make that move. There's pros and cons to every decision you make, and based on the circumstances, this was there were more pros than cons in terms of Team Opetaia decision to go with Zuffa. But some of the cons are, you probably were going to have to vacate your IBF title. This is probably something they had to know before that, because Zuffa had kind of made it clear even before signing Opetaia what their outlook was in terms of the way they regarded the sanctioning bodies. So this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody based on the way Zuffa was talking even before Opetaia signed with them. So I think, if I'm using logic, I think Opetaia and his team probably already knew that the IBF title was going to have to go up in flames, the IBF title that he held, because there was no way he was going to be able to hold it and also sign a Zuffa contract. But there may have been more pros and cons in signing with Zuffa, so they went that route. And there may still be more pros and cons. Who knows? We'll see how Jai's career goes from here.
Yeah, is this, and I was about to ask that, Chris, is this kind of the litmus test of this decision and what you have to give up and what you can keep signing with Zuffa? Jai Opetaia is one guy, IBF champion. He gives it up. To Paulie's point, his career goes great after this. It'll go, we don't need these guys.
Well, this is a precedent being set, but also it's one of those things where now if Opetaia becomes the first Zuffa champion, right now it's not going to matter that much, but it could really matter down the line. If this really takes off and becomes this new world order situation where the Zuffa belts actually do matter, he's hit down historically as being the first Zuffa champion, and he's a very, very prominent. He's a top tier world class fighter. Is Jai Opetaia. So it's not going to reveal itself to how important this move is. I think for some time.
How good
if it's important.
Right.
Because
exactly.
Again, we've seen how the sanctioning bodies come in. There's sanctioning bodies.
That's what I said. It could be.
There's sanctioning bodies that exist for decades.
It doesn't it doesn't matter a whole lot now, but it could later on.
There's sanctioning bodies that exist that still don't really matter. They've been around for decades. Even the initial WBO champions, nobody really thinks about it.
Yeah, that took a while to get established.
Riddick Bowe, I think, had a WBO title, right? Or Herbie Hyde back in the day.
Herbie Hyde, yeah. He was definitely WBO.
The original WBO champions, they weren't getting a lot of credibility, but then later on, the WBO became a big deal.
More came over here to the States because I think
it was becoming bigger because Frank Warren had a good relationship with them, But yeah,
and then Top Rank. What it was? Top Rank hooked up with WBO, and that's when they really took off.
Yeah, well, Top Rank with anybody, I think, will be a big help.
That's Top Rank.
But we'll see. Well, if Zuffa has the same effect as Top Rank as far as legitimizing a certain belt.
What do you think about this, and whether or not it's a good idea for Zuffa in terms of Jai Opetaia, IBF champion, they're not signing the number 2 contender, the number 3 contender, the number 4 guy. If you're not under Zuffa's banner, Zuffa's not going to let you fight to defend your IBF, WBO, WBC, WBA title. They're just if you're not a Zuffa fighter,
Glanton had to sign a Zuffa contract to get shot. Is what you said.
Right. From what I understand, if the methodology that we've seen, and there are people who've talked about the contracts at length, we're not going to do that here, but it's like the UFC. You're a UFC fighter, you're not. A UFC fighter can't, well, I'm going to defend my Strikeforce belt over in Strikeforce. No, you can't. You're a UFC guy.
In the beginning, they did. They went to Pride. They went to Pride for a little while.
In the very
they closed the doors.
Right, but also they weren't champions. Chuck Liddell was not a champion, went over fought in Pride. All right. So even when the UFC not co-promoted, but sent fighters over to Pride, there was never the champion. It was never our guy versus your guy. Tito Ortiz at the time was champion, blah, 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 blah. So by the time Chuck became champion, UFC, you don't fight for anybody
You're
else.
not going anywhere else.
You're not hurting our brand going over there and getting your butt kicked, okay? Or whatever. Remember Rampage Jackson beat Chuck over there. So, and then
Rampage became a UFC guy too.
And then he went over and beat him in the UFC to win the title, right?
Yeah.
So it's a similar kind of thing here where if you're a Zuffa fighter, oh, I need to defend my WBC title. No, you don't. You are a Zuffa fighter. You're fighting for a Zuffa belt. But I need to. You just can't hold a title any more than you could hold.
Well, you're creating an alternate reality, so it's
right.
basically,
It's its own league essentially. Yeah. But it's this. I want to defend my Grey Cup in the NFL. No, you will not. You're playing other NFL teams. It's this idea where you're in a league essentially.
Yeah.
So, long term, Chris, it's all or nothing. Will we know if that's a good idea for a while?
It might.
Yeah, you got to play out.
You might
right?
find out sooner than you be. That could be the surprising part about it. Like you said, champ, this isn't really surprising, this move, but also all the concessions that have been made so far, the weight class, saying that he was going to be able to fight for those titles. Yet that's changed. It's all changing very, very quickly, and Zuffa's prominence in the world is growing. So it's going to be hard to tell how long it's going to take, but it might happen way faster than we think. Now I wonder about, like, you talk about getting other fighters in there, like Mikaelian. Who's a champion as well. And we've been talking about trying to have those two guys fight. They did meet at the Apex. They had a face-off at the Apex, that Opetaia and Mikaelian.
So did he sign there?
And so that my question now becomes, because you said this beautifully the other day, Jimmy, you've got this big shark that needs to eat in Opetaia. And you got to get him the proper chum.
Yeah. Keep feeding him meat.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to scoop up these guys, and I don't know. I feel like if you're a cruiserweight right now, really, really nice time to make some good money, because they're coming at you to fight Opetaia.
You make a good point, Jim. They may be targeting the most vulnerable weight class, because cruiserweight typically isn't the star-studded weight class typically, right? It's usually a crossover weight class.
Way cheaper,
a stopover weight class. It's cheaper, and so if you corner the market in the cruiserweight division, basically anybody who's a good cruiserweight either has to drop to light heavyweight, move up to heavyweight, or sign with Zuffa.
Right.
If they're going to stay at cruiserweight. Yeah. And
there's another way to make money now as a cruiserweight, other than going to heavyweight.
Yeah, or you don't make money unless you go with them if you're going to stay at cruiserweight, unless you go to heavyweight. And some guys don't want to go to heavyweight too soon. Some guys want to establish themselves at cruiserweight first. Typically, that's for a smaller heavyweight. That's typically
some guys want to achieve their dreams of becoming WBC, WBO, IBF, WBA champion.
This is
that's another side of it.
This is interesting because the mainstream promoters don't promote a lot of cruiserweights that well either. So it's an opportunity for Zuffa to grab cruiserweights and actually promote them. And it's you know what, you can see the plan of attack, because guys who become cruiserweight world champion, they're not typically promoted very much by the mainstream promoters. It's a stopover weight class. It's you become a champion, but they're not gonna invest in you like, oh, we can make this guy into the cruiserweight world champion. Whatever. Okay, he's a cruiserweight. Eventually something big will come along, either in the heavyweight division or light heavyweight division, or even at cruiserweight if something comes along.
So the U.S. has not had many cruiserweights.
Yeah. In general, it's like that. So for Zuffa to do it, maybe they want to corner the market in the cruiserweight division and start there.
I think it's very smart.
It's an easier way. It's an easier weight class with which to corner the market,
and it's also better competitive wise than it has been in a number of years. This is a good cruiserweight division.
I don't know about that. Come on.
Yeah.
What kind of cruiserweight division you got? You got Jai, you got maybe Zurdo, but
Chris
Zurdo
William Smith is very, very tough. He's a very
all right,
good fighter.
But
Mikaelian's not bad. He just beat Badu Jack twice.
Bro, a few years ago we had Gassiev, Usyk, what was his name?
I'm not saying it's better than them, but this is not a bad cruiserweight era.
It's not. I don't know. I don't think it's that great either. Jai stands out to me though.
71% of our audience is a poll right now. 71% of our audience says that he should be stripped, that IBF is doing the right thing. They're sticking to their guns. Also, it's hard to believe that the other sanctioning bodies aren't going to follow suit and do the same thing. But what's the whole issue is if Zuffa says you're fighting for our belt, no one else. It is literally the MMA structure, which is you're not somebody else's champion while you're our champion. We never. And also when people come in,
and you got to prevent fights from happening, and that's going to piss off fight fans.
But that's the issue too in MMA.
That's going to piss off fight fans. Unless you can sign everybody,
Yes.
fights aren't going to happen, and then it's going to have the opposite effect on fight fans.
There's going to be growing pains.
71%.
There's going to be growing pains.
71% of fans are for the stripping. There's growing pains if you grow. There's you go out if you don't grow. You know, like they have money, they'll hang around. They have money to burn, as the Conor Ben situation shows. But if they spend it more wisely, they have an opportunity, I think, still to still continue to make a big push. But yeah, there's getting accepted by using this method. Maybe you have to adjust the method a little bit, which also happens as far as growth is concerned.
It's like I said the other day, it's a two-pronged approach. I think they're saving a lot of money with the Apex fights and all those Zuffa Boxing shows where they're collecting all the young talent for relatively low price tag. They've attacked the Cruiserweight division, which is a lower price tag. Yeah, they threw a ton of money in the Ben situation, which was yet to see if that's going to be fruitful at all. I don't know how it really could be anytime soon. But no, it's a multi-pronged approach. I think, again, I keep saying this. I think collecting all the guys who are on these Zuffa undercards, these Zuffa fights, not undercards, these Zuffa fights, I think that's really the long-term play. And then you're making these big sweeping motions. But also they're being smart. Again, attacking the Cruiserweight division, cheaper than heavyweight. Getting a Jai Opetaia who may be price tag wise as such an elite fighter, good time to get him. So I do think they're being very smart about how they're approaching this whole thing, because listen, this is a business. There's a bottom line, and if you go back to the shareholders and you're like, all right, we lost a lot of money this year, next year, the year after, what is their 4-year plan, 5-year plan? And I'm sure there is one. So you got to think they're thinking like a business.
Let's compare it a little bit. When you look at Conor Ben, when you look at, he's from a competitive weight class. He costs a lot of money. There are a lot of great fighters outside of Zuffa that hold the belts that he wants. He signed a 1-fight deal. So his idea of
whatever that means, I don't know what that means. I don't know, $15 million. How are you going to recoup that in one fight?
You're not.
You're not.
You simply won't. But also, Zuffa can't say, we're going to get all the guys in that weight class and give you all the competition you need. They can't do that. They can, but maybe a cruiserweight.
Ben also can't beat any of those guys. Opetaia beats the whole cruiserweight division.
Sure, yeah. Of course. But he can say, look, we can lure all those guys in, build you up. You can't say that at 47. You can't say that at 40. You can't say that at 35. Too many guys, too expensive. We can't have all those guys in-house, right? So that's the difference between those two situations. Where you have Jai Opetaia, yeah, maybe there's enough money. It wouldn't cost you that much to, as you guys are pointing out, corner the cruiserweight division. How much money would it cost to corner right now welterweight 140-35?
And guys are on the contract.
But also, that's a really good point, Jimmy, because if you look at, you said a different reality. If you look at the two realities, right, which may not be the right word, maybe ecosystem, or we said playground or sandbox or whatever. You've got the Zuffa guys and you got the welterweight, you've got Conor Ben, who does make money. We pulled Prograis, who's not a welterweight, and it's really not that viable right now. But then the problem is that the guys in the welterweight division can make money without Ben. Because you've got Haney, you've got Rollies, you've got Ryan.
Yeah.
Their ecosystem is flush. Very, very flush. There's a lot of money to be had.
Very good
and
fights.
They could fight each other for years and make a lot of money together.
That the fans want to see as well.
That too. They're stars.
Yeah, the question is, can you pay boxing prices and corner a big weight class?
The problem with the welterweight division is, with Ben is too, God forbid you lower the structure just a little bit. You got to get a completely shot fighter like Prograis, because I'd say somebody like Tiger Johnson is affordable if he's not in the contract with Top Rank. But he'll beat the crap out of Ben. You know what I mean? Then what do you have? You know what I mean? Like, you also have to.
You got to be careful.
You got to be careful there too. You in terms of the way you would operate. But yeah, it's a 1-fight deal, champ. So we don't really know what the whole end game for that particular move is.
I don't know if I believe the 1-fight deal.
It might be a 1-fight with options.
So, I mean, Eddie did come out and say, like, would you be open to negotiating again with Ben? And he said, yeah, you got to pick up the phone. But yeah, it's possible. So that is possible. So is this just a money grab for Team Ben? Are they going to go right back to what they were doing? That would be, I mean, brilliant on their part. But is Zuffa going to allow that?
How dumb would that be on Zuffa's part that have the options for
especially
a
because
deal with Prograis,
like
which is a
play,
winnable fight?
Especially because, like, for Zuffa, it seems like the play was a head-to-head with Eddie. And then you're going to allow him to come back? it's complicated.
Yeah,
It's a complicated, weird situation.
The book is not done being written on this particular chapter.
Not at all. But we're going to take a quick break. Why? You're going to have to go get whatever it is you drink, and a lot of from shot glasses. And you have to fill them up because we're talking about Mario Barrios. So you know what fun drinking game we're going to play when we come back.
Saturday, March 21st, ProBox TV invades the NOS Event Center as Lester Martinez and Emmanuel Aleem battle for the WBC World Super Middleweight title. Palmdale's Joshua Kevin Anton battles the Uzbeki Punisher. LA is in the house as Anthony Too Quick Cuba defends home turf against Brooklyn's Wesley Farrell, while Sam Contreras takes on Cesar Cantu.
I brought some drinks, just water. But here, I'm taking the top off. Okay, we're going to talk about Mario Barrios, who has said he's taken some time off before going up to 154 pounds. So what do you think of Barrios? Paulie, what do you think of him?
I mean, listen.
What,
Let the man breathe.
Whoa!
Well,
Who
okay,
are
guys,
you,
guys,
and what
guys.
have you done with Paulie Malignaggi?
Guys, he still sucks. Come
Okay,
on.
all right,
But
Our listeners have been hung over for 2 months because of this guy.
Let the guy take some time
First
off.
Barrios sucks shot. Okay.
Some time off. 154 though. Shoot,
Dude,
man.
First thing I thought
Where you
is
going?
that's like, I'm taking time off, and then I'm gonna go. I don't know, hunt lions with a spear or something. Like that's not. I'm gonna take time off. I'm gonna do the most dangerous thing. I'm gonna go skydiving without a parachute. 154. We have said it a million times.
And he's gonna be food at 154. Everybody's gonna be.
Hey, guess what? He's gonna make a lot of money. They're gonna pay him.
This kid
is
but
made
154
so
is,
much.
154 is dangerous without a lot of money there. That's where you going? It's not like stars at 154. There's dangerous on top of dangerous on top of
Everybody's
dangerous.
so good. We'll go over the rankings in a minute,
But I mean, from what you say about Mary, how much does he really have left? He's done a lot. He's been in a
so
lot of weight
anything
classes.
is a bonus for him, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot. He's multiple division world champion.
Yeah.
He's had big payday fights. He's fought a legend. He got to fight Manny Pacquiao. And so yeah.
The BA title he
you
had at
looking
40
for at
was
this
it the
point?
main title?
That's a good question.
So because if it wasn't, then he was not. He's not a multiple division world champion.
Look it up right now. But would this the thing you're thinking about Barrios is you've always said it: 6 feet tall, big dude, physically. Before we get into the talent level, physically, Chris, does he have the tools at 154 pounds?
The issue, and this is if you are a backer of Barrios, and you are looking at a way to extend his career, you blame the weight. Because there was reports that he was sick fight week. And listen, if you're cutting weight and you cut weight wrongly, you get sick. So he is big for even welterweight. I don't know how he fought in those lighter weight classes. He's always been 6 feet tall.
Was he sick the week of the Pacquiao fight too?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, if you're a backer of him, because he was so flat against Ryan, and he just didn't look good at all, and he made Ryan look like a wizard. But if you're a backer of him, you go, you know what? He was struggling to make the weight. He had outgrown the weight class. He got sick that night. Does he win? Does he beat Ryan ever? Probably not. But maybe he has a resurgence at 54.
Now he doesn't beat Ryan ever. Who picked Barrios to win before the fight?
I did it because of you, dude. I had to argue with you. I had to argue with
Spirit
you.
of contradiction.
Yes.
You see this guy?
This is a TV show. This is fun.
He's an instigator.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody's got to get you guys at home. You love when this guy throws a rant. I pick a rant now. I'm the enemy. All right.
The rants have to be organic.
Not in my case. I can start a fight. I can start a fight real easy.
And the talent level at 54, we say it all the time, Paulie, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide at 54. Even there are top 15 guys that are coming up.
And they're young,
at this
too.
point, nobody's going to invest in Barrios as an A side, so he's going to be a high level B side, which will give you opportunities. You're next champion. You're a resume filler.
You get overpaid to be that, though.
Dude, yeah, you can, but against stars, I don't know how many stars 154 has. And 154 has a landmine of excellent fighters, but I don't know how many stars there are. Where are we going to go? Is he still with PBC? He's with PBC fighter, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So he can maybe fight the winner of Spence and Zoo?
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming off what? 2 draws and a loss? We're going to sell that as a pay-per-view? I mean, like PBC doesn't have the audacity to make that a pay-per-view anyway.
He could probably get the loser of Fundora and Thurman.
The loser of Fundora and Thurman.
because you got two guys coming off of a loss.
Speaking of, and would they have the audacity to make that into a pay-per-view headline? But the loser for Thorndor and Thurman, it could be a rematch with Thurman. Where are you going?
Yeah.
Making that again?
But he'll go, but at 47, I was struggling. Now we're at 54, and we're in a weight class where I'm more comfortable.
You believe that?
I'm telling you, I'm putting my promoter hat on. How do we make the fight?
WBO, let me just say WBO, because they're listed by belt. WBO, Champ Xander Zayas. Brandon Adams is number 1. Rashid Ellis is number 2. Israel Madrimov number 3. Bakri Samake is number 4. Abbas Barao is number 5. Bakram Murtaz Aliyev is number 6.
Yikes.
Giovanni Santillan is number 7.
Giovanni Santillan is a 54
WBO.
now?
Yeah, I'm reading off their rankings. Adrian Sasso at 8. Nikita Zhu at 9. Milan Prad at 10. Now, you always say all the time, there are names that you don't know that well, Chris, that are bad boys.
Yes,
every single one of them.
The top 7 of that are killers.
Yeah.
Top 7 are killers. But what about a guy like
Even Nikita Zhu beats him.
But, I mean, it's a more viable fight than him fighting those other 6
He's going to become a prospect opponent now? Nikita's still a prospect.
Francisco Verón, number 8 for
He
the
loses that fight too.
WBC's, fought on our
Come on,
really
guys.
tough
I know I say
That's
he sucks.
number 8.
I know I say he sucks, but it's also not fair. They got to just throw him in like a trash. Just get him beat up by everybody too. We got if you're a backer of Barrios, like you're saying,
Look at this compassionate Paulie
exactly
Malinovski,
what I
by the
said.
way.
If you're a backer of Barrios,
no, that's what I mean. That's why I'm using your point.
Where
do you put? But Zeus Spence is you're making a mockery of the situation. You're just spitting in boxing fans' faces.
You're
Can't put him in
acting like that's not what boxing does to its fans.
Doesn't matter. I don't like to do that. In my
The
imaginary
winner of that
world,
fight?
I know. No.
No.
How do you put him in with the winner of that fight? He just
That's
lost every
insane.
round to Ryan.
Yes.
You gotta get him a rebuild fight. What's a rebuild fight where he can actually win? Because even the rebuild fight, you got to find the right guy. Because he could get beat in a rebuild fight.
Dude, on our air, Francisco Verón has looked amazing.
He'll get beat by Verón.
He'll get
beat by Abbas Barao.
Verón's a nightmare.
Bro, I don't know.
And that's not a name
You
a
know
lot
what
of
we
people
do?
know.
Put him in an undercard against Erickson Luben.
Don't hate that.
Okay,
rebuild.
Both guys that need a
Both
rebuild.
guys, he's a rebuild. It's names.
And I would imagine, because this is how contracts go, they often have clauses if you catch a loss, you get a rebuild, and then you get into possibly another big fight. Barrios' name isn't well known enough because of the high-profile fights that he's been in. Maybe he gets the rebuild. Maybe it is a guy like
TV
Luben.
undercard. PV pay-per-view.
Yeah, no, you're not
undercard.
making that a main event, especially because how Luben performed against Virgil. You're not going to be able to put him back in a very big fight.
Luben versus Mario Barrios. 154.
I like it.
Rebuild.
I like it.
See, now we're
There you go.
You're making a little
Now
bit of
you're
sense
talking. Now you're
we're
talking.
talking about rankings. You get this guy. Get this guy.
I like
put
you're
into the
softening up on Barrios.
I'm not softening up. I still think he sucks.
I still
but
have so
he's
much
still-
water.
He's still a human being. You know what I mean? Like you got to still, treat it in the right situation. Even from a business perspective, what makes sense to where it remains interesting. Barrios Luben is an interesting fight because based on the point where they are in their careers, based on the fact that they were viable fighters at one time, maybe
Is it
the winner
loser leaves town?
Absolutely.
Old school pro wrestling.
Come on.
Loser
Yeah.
leaves town. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And the territory
It's about
days.
as much loser leaves town as you can do at this point. The bags are already packed. Actually, ready for the loser to leave. Like you don't even. It's not like the loser leaves town.
It's not even a flight. It's a bus ticket.
Yeah. So this is.
Got your Uber outside.
But there's a cool little storyline there, because both guys were top guys. So.
Who is the harder sell? Because obviously coming off a loss, when you look at Barrios style-wise, right? Is Barrios style-wise a harder sell? Because when he does lose, he doesn't throw a lot of punches. He doesn't change the gears. Erickson Luben went out on a shield against Ortiz. Got knocked out.
Luben didn't really go out on a shield because he just went to the ropes and got stopped right away. So
But my point
it's
is,
a hard
we only
sell.
had-
But I tell you what, if there's ever,
get what I'm saying. What's the hardest sell?
a rebuild opponent that you can rebuild, because the way Luben looked, he was like, there's no way you can rebuild this fight. He didn't look like he wanted to fight against Virgil. He just went right to the ropes and just got stopped quickly. But if there's ever an opportunity where you could see Luben actually rebuilding and winning, Mario Barrios sucks. So therefore, Luben actually could win that fight. And I probably would favor him to win that fight, no matter how shot he looked against Ortiz.
So
that's my tip.
it easier?
But I want to see it because, they're both kind of shot. So, but they're both named guys. So as long as you don't make it a main event and spit in my face, there's an interesting undercard play there for a big card.
We love we know we love our movie quotes here.
The boss Gary could be making it happen.
Could be doing it.
You know, 'cause
right?
we got
Gary
Luben
Jonas
here.
could be getting it
This
done.
show
Could be
makes
getting it
waves and deals get done. So.
Yes, those are power brokers that we are. But we love our movie quotes, right? Remember Unforgiven? Great Western,
great
right? With Clint Eastwood. This guy had one arm, and he's loading all these guns. He goes, why are you loading 6 guns? You only have one arm. And he goes, I ain't getting killed for lack of shooting back. Now, one of the things I always tell fighters, don't get killed for lack of shooting back. Because number one, you'll go out knowing you had bullets in your gun, right? Number two is, it's hard to market a guy who just got flat because he didn't throw much.
Both of these guys would be guilty of that because even Barrios.
That's what I mean.
Enough.
But with Barrios, we sat through 12 rounds of Goosen going, do this, do that, and seeing the same.
And 12 rounds before that with Bob Santos doing the same thing.
24 Bob Santos doing the same thing.
Was the same thing.
But what the point of what I'm saying is, it's always harder for me as a fan. You guys were professional boxers. I was not. As a fan on the outside, I was a professional fighter. On the outside going, this guy's just not making the adjustments like he wants to
Barrios,
do it. Like he wants to go out and do something. Is it hard to rehabilitate?
But you feel like with Barrios, the capabilities would be there. He's got all the physical tools. He doesn't need a trainer. He needs a psychiatrist. You know what I mean? Like this guy's got to convince. You got to convince this guy somehow because he's been in with some of the world's best trainers, Santos, Goosen. He doesn't listen to anybody.
And looks the same.
So yeah. So this guy needs a psychiatrist. He doesn't need a trainer.
But isn't that harder to sell me as a fan? A guy who's mentally, I don't know if he wants to do this anymore. He's not throwing punches. He's not doing this, not doing that. It's harder for me to sell Erickson Luben.
He's durable, and Luben is, he's not so durable, but he may still, be able to let his hands fly better than Barrios. Bro, you know what? I want to find out. I think it's a good undercard fight. I think it's a TV undercard fight on a really good main event card.
Is it a Pro Box TV fight for
Nope.
I don't know, man. We would have to up the ante, because both of those guys, you're gonna need a little bit of a higher budget.
It's
literally
if
we splurge a little bit, maybe
it's in our tagline. We like fighters that throw punches.
Yeah, but we need a.
Runners, holders, low volume fighters are not allowed.
But against one another, these guys, sometimes guys are shot enough where they'll fight one another. They'll make a fun fight against one another because they're shot enough.
What was it? Jared Hurd.
We had Hurd and
Rosario
and Jason Rosario. Yeah.
It actually made for a decent scrap.
Also on Pro Box, yeah.
Yep.
But after that, that's as good as it's going to get at 154 pounds for even a victorious Barrios over Erickson Luben. I mean, as you guys said, the build-up fight's the only one you can think of. 154 is absolute murders. We're going over the rankings later on in the show. It's just killers. No matter where you look, every title, every champion, the losers of these fights are incredibly tough.
He's gonna be between a rock and a hard place because it seems like 47 is not, his body's not, doesn't want to do it anymore. And because listen, if he can still make 47, there's so much money to be made at 47. All these big fights, you get a rebuild fight at 47, you end up maybe fighting one of those top other guys who need an opponent. Like they might look at it as an easy pickings with a guy who's been in profile fights. If he's going to 54, he has to because it's murderer's row. So, I don't know. I think they're trying to rebuild the kid, trying to get him another big payday. You never know where guys are at in terms of their life. And he's only 30, but he's had a long career. And he's had some tough fights. So
and he sucks.
You don't know how much there is left in the tank.
Almost done with my water because the Barrios sucks every single time.
Guy's going to die of hypernatremia over here.
That's not going to be enough. Fortunately, I know what that is. Thank you.
I don't, but now I assume I know what it is.
Yeah, water poisoning.
Water poisoning essentially dissolves the salts in your body. Anyway, moving on to a different weight class that is obviously very, very stacked. We just talked about it with the Lamont Roach fight. The WBA, is ordering Floyd Schofield versus Lucas Bahdi for the vacant 135-pound title. Yeah, I like that. 135 getting juicy, getting real hot. Chris, what's your thought on this fight?
Paulie, you take this one first. I know you're familiar with Lucas, so that's...
Yeah, Lucas is a big puncher. Has trouble with guys with quick feet, though. Schofield, you'd probably favor him, but it's a dangerous fight because Bahdi, with his big punching power, he's able to catch Ashton Silva, who was a very good boxer and a very good style. And
Silva's way ahead in that fight.
Silva was way ahead in that fight. Yeah, because Bahdi's never really out of a fight because he punches so hard. And with Schofield, he has the ability to make Bahdi look bad, but Bahdi doesn't go anywhere.
Schofield got hurt in the Tejas fight.
Yeah.
Got hurt late in the Tejas fight.
Yeah. Interesting fight. Yeah, I think you'd favor Schofield, but Bahdi's always live with that punching power and his chin. He doesn't go anywhere. He's live in there.
Happy to see Bahdi get a title shot, get that opportunity, because I think he's one of those guys who's been at it for a while. He's got a great record. He's kind of jumped different promotions to try and find his opportunity.
He can be
Always,
fun.
absolutely. And but also, you don't want to see a guy like that stay a contender for too long and get stale. And then by the time they get their shot, it's too late.
Yeah.
I think he's still very viable. It's just tough because Schofield is.
Yeah, and Schofield's he's in his moment too. Coming off the big stoppage of Farmer as well. He's moving in the right direction and he's looking better.
Do we have a
and
date
better.
on that, Jimmy? Did you say?
Say it again.
A date on that fight? Was there?
They do not have a game. It's just been ordered because
same
as Lamont Roach. They've ordered them to put together. Obviously, details.
A lot of lightweight title fights being ordered. I like it.
Yeah. And 135 is looking really good. Of course, Lucas Bahdi 20-0. You know about his ability.
Yeah, we were talking about the lightweights. We forgot about Bahdi now.
Yeah.
Bring him into the conversation as well. He's a guy who can also make things fun in that weight class.
And Schofield, very dynamic, very interesting. In a year or so, 135, these names coming together are looking really, really fantastic.
They're all young too, Jimmy.
I was about to say the youth, the explosiveness, Bahdi a little bit older, 32 years old, but that ability of everybody at 35, man, 54, 35, looking absolutely fantastic. And Lamont Roach having his opportunity. Obviously, we talked recently about that fight. A lot of great boxers with different styles, Chris. It's a lot of fun matchups.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of 126 because you got a lot of different styles and body types and all really good high-level fighters in the top 6, 7. 35 is like that. They're also young. And with the comparison to 54, the difference is these lightweights are going to fight each other. 54, you see a lot of planets orbiting around each other that just aren't making the fights happen, mostly because of the powers that be and the people that are around them. But 35, there's not enough star power for any single guy to make sure to keep them away or have their own orbit. They can kind of keep guys out. So these guys all have to fight in order to make each other's names. Right. And so I think we're going to get a lot of guys fighting each other, and we're going to get a lot of guys losing O's soon.
Abdullah Mason's your chance at WBO. Is your champ at WBO. IBF, Raymond Morataya. WBC is Jay Herrera. And then WBA was Gervonta Davis. Of course, he's...
WBC got ordered with...
Roach and
Zepeda.
Roach and
Zepeda, yep.
Yeah. But you named two guys that were undefeated, or was it three? Who's
Bahdi's undefeated?
No, the champions.
Abdullah, Mason.
Abdullah and Morataya, both undefeated.
Morataya is not lasting long. He's going to go 140
He's
soon.
going to be 140.
Yeah, he's going to go 140 soon.
Who do you think is the guy right now, 135 pounds? Do you think it is Morataya? He looked absolutely fantastic
right now it's
last time out.
Yeah,
but also non-champions like Andy Cruz, Noakes,
Bahdi,
Schofield. Obviously, they're going to fight for it. But yeah, there's some good fighters in the lightweight division.
Who would you favor right now early on? Of course, Schofield versus Bahdi. You know about the punching power, but Schofield, dynamic, great boxer. Who would you favor in this one, Chris?
Like Champ said, I would go with Schofield based on his boxing ability and the fact that he can punch as well. It's not just puncher versus boxer in this scenario because Schofield can punch. And I think he's been progressing quite well, getting more mature. He is very young. I think he probably learned a lot from that Tejas fight, a guy who's been fought on IR many times. Yep. He dominated that fight and then got hurt at the end. So he's learned that in 12-round fights you got to stay locked in the entire time, which he's going to need for Bahdi. But I would lean towards Schofield, but you got to always count a puncher in.
I think that Bahdi takes a really good shot, so I think that's part of what makes him dangerous. I don't think he's going anywhere. I do favor Schofield in the fight because Bahdi has trouble with movement or guys who change distances and whatnot, and he has a hard time himself closing the gap. But he's alive all the time, being the fact that he can punch and the fact that he's likely not going anywhere. Yeah, Schofield can punch a little bit. Bahdi takes a good punch. Bahdi holds position very well, so he can throw back at you and surprise you and shock you. But Schofield's been moved in a way where this is his moment. He's been bred, built up to now win the title at this point in his career. So you probably favor Schofield, but Bahdi's punching power is scary, man. I'm telling you. It's not just the kind of punching power that changes the fight and ends it. It's the kind of punching power that changes the fight and makes you doubt yourself. If he lands a good shot and maybe doesn't get Schofield out of there, but now Schofield's like, man, this guy hits hard. Does Schofield second guess himself?
Yeah, when they say one punch can change a fight, doesn't mean you get knocked out necessarily.
Yeah, it creates that self-doubt, and then you start hesitating a little bit, and maybe Bahdi can close the gap. There's a lot of variables here. You favor Schofield, but there's a lot of variables in this. Bahdi had, without a doubt, the knockout of the year when he knocked out Silva. I think they ended up giving it to Dubois when he knocked out Joshua. The knockout of Ashton Silva is light years ahead of that knockout. The knockout
was
of
technical. It was
Lucas
scary.
Bahdi knocking out Ashton Silva. If you didn't see it looking on YouTube, it is the knockout possibly of the decade. I mean, so the fact they didn't give him the knockout of the year, but they gave it to Dubois knocking out Joshua, to me was ridiculous. But it goes to show you, it's just an example of just how powerful Bahdi's punching power is, and Silva was a very good fighter who still who I still haven't really seen back on the scene since then, and he was streaking. That was a good prospect.
Well, you can't talk about 135 without talking about the elephants in the room. Easiest one to talk about, Gervonta Davis stripped his title 135 pounds. That's the one that will be filled by this fight. Ever see him again boxing, period, Chris? What's your guess?
See my hands up?
Yeah.
No. I don't know.
It's all about his out-of-ring issues.
I can't help but think about, he did an interview, at this point, it's probably 18 months ago, maybe even 2 years ago at this point, where he started really questioning his future in the sport and wanting to he's like, I don't want to go see a psychologist because I don't want to start thinking about things. I want to think of my family. Those kind of things can make you, once that seed gets in your head, you're less and less willing to go out on your shield, and because listen, the sport is dangerous, and if you're not in it 100%, it's even more dangerous. So I don't know. I think about that psychologically if he really wants to return. Also, the fact that instead of doing the Lamont rematch, which everyone was calling for, which would have been a good fight, he chose to go grab the money and try and fight someone, 230-pound former YouTuber and Jake Paul. So just psychologically, I think physically, absolutely, he's in his prime. He's 31 years old. Listen, he can punch no matter what. I don't care what you want to say about him. The kid can punch, and he's a finisher. So there's always going to be a draw. But in terms of whether he wants to do it, it's entirely up here, and I can't speak on a man's brain.
He's right. It's a very dangerous sport. You want to be committed to it full throttle if you're going to go in the ring and fight, because being half mentally checked out and going in the ring is always a danger. But you know what? Fortunately for Gervonta Davis, danger and his career never go hand in hand. He's always looking for the easiest cupcake to fight. So thankfully, if Gervonta Davis is going to fight, we don't have to worry about that danger, even if he's halfway checked out, because he's never going to go anywhere near any of the top lightweights, just like he never went anywhere near the 130-pounders when he was in a stacked weight class as a champion, and the 135 as well. So, yeah, all those things are certainly food for thought that the champ brings out about you want to be focused if you're going to fight, this and that. But you know what? We never have to worry about Gervonta Davis' safety, thankfully, because he'll fight the next Uber driver like this if he really has to, and if he really wants to fight again. So the interest of Gervonta Davis fighting, sure. But the interest of Gervonta Davis taking on a dangerous opponent, absolutely not.
But how many?
You got more.
How many chances do you
I'll
get?
bet you all kinds of farmland. He'll never goes near a top guy.
But again, how many chances do you get to be able to make? Because listen, he got rewarded handsomely for fighting guys that were not that dangerous, and then he was
that's what I'm saying. So he'll
but are you going to get that again? Is that how many chances do you get?
You know what? The one thing about fighter having a popular fighter leaving for a while is the curiosity of him returning. I think you can be paid handsomely just returning. There's always a curiosity. You've built up this product. This product has been built. Gervonta's been promoted. He's been pushed. So now he's the product. So you have this product that's been built, and if it's missing for a while, people are curious about the product. So no matter what, he's gonna. I think he's got an opportunity. He'll still.
So you're saying absence makes the heart grow fonder, even for us fighters.
Look at what Mike Tyson. I mean, people wanted to see him fight. He's 60. I get it, but it's a lot of guys. Mayweather, Pacquiao. It's the same thing.
You're naming guys that are at such a ridiculous.
They've. You know what? We're in a generation where even Gervonta Davis fighting cab driver after cab driver, they've somehow made him into a star, because you have so much technology now that continues to push people in your face. So Davis does that, and like you said, champ, he still can punch. He's a genuine finisher. He's a genuine puncher. You can't take that away from him. You put him in against a deer in headlights, he'll finish him off, knock him out, and Davis explosive highlights again. Put it on YouTube. Put it on Instagram. Sell it as he knocked out King Kong when he knocked out the insect on the floor, and you got the product selling all over again, and keep repeating it, put it in people's faces, and you got that. If he wants to, he can do that, because that's how he was built to begin with. So, does he want to? I don't know. For me, it's a bit of a pet peeve, especially with the way my career went and the way your career went. As far as we fought tough fighters, we took pride in fighting tough fighters at their peak. not just tough fighters, at their peak. Well, sometimes we didn't have a choice. They were at their peak and we weren't at our peak, either too soon or too late, right? This guy has been fighting not even top fighters most of the time, not at their peak when he did fight them most of the time. And then he talks like he's accomplished Mayweather career. Like, I don't know if I want this anymore. It's like you feel like you're listening to a guy who's done it all and been there, and it's like, wow, it's like he did so much. It's amazing. He's just tired of it. He's like, he beat 30 Uber drivers, and then he's talking like he had Muhammad Ali's career. That's my issue. Like, buddy, go. If you're gonna retire, go retire. It's like, all right. That's my issue with that conversation you brought up. Like, I don't know if I got it. I don't want to fight.
Yeah, but that can happen to anyone.
They paid you millions.
That can happen to anyone at any
time.
time.
To fight the production crew. All right, come on, dude.
But the thing is, once you start feeling vulnerable in this sport, it's dangerous.
But it's okay, because he's never going to take on a guy who's going to be dangerous anyway.
Dude, he fought Frank Martin. He fought Frank Martin when Frank Martin was an issue. That was a really good
Frank Martin, you just saw what he looked like again. Frank Martin was never going to be world champion. All right, yeah. But Frank is a good solid fighter.
That was a good win.
He's good. It's good, solid fighters. I'm not telling you. Listen, you're selling him as a world champion. You can't put him in complete Uber drivers. But you're still making it in a way where you're balancing it out. He fought Santa Cruz, who started out as a bantamweight, and he knocked him out at 130. The guy was nowhere near at 130, and by that point, he's shot to begin with. You're selling names. That's probably the biggest name on his record, mind you.
Pedraza.
Pedraza was a good win, but we've talked about that Pedraza win with the guy being shot at the weight, and he had already lost that Necheri prior to that, and they robbed the Necheri, let Pedraza keep his title. Either way, the bottom line is this: he still has the ability. He always had the ability. He can punch.
He knocked out Ryan.
He's got the fin. He knocked out Ryan. He knocked out a lot of guys, but were those guys worth their weight though? That's my problem.
I'm fighting for the opponents. I'm defending the guys that you're saying are Uber drivers.
If I'm defending your position, you know what I'm going to say? He knocked out Rolly. Rolly's a world champion. Yeah. That's a good win.
Well, Ryan's a world champion too. Ryan's a world champion right now.
Ryan
Garcia.
Oh, Ryan Garcia. Yeah, but Ryan was the hydration clause.
He
gave me the hydration clause at 135. You give me a hydration clause at 135. Don't tell me that.
I am going to tell you that.
No. Rolly's a good win.
Hey, you know what else he knocked out?
Rolly's a really good win.
Get your shot glass ready. You know what else he knocked out?
Barrios.
Barrios.
But I'm done.
At 140.
I'm done with this. I'm done.
Oh, boy.
That's it. Finish off the shot. That's it.
I finished off the water. Now, one fighter who's not shot, appearing on Pro Box TV air March 13th, Naji Lopez at 175 pounds. Check out him, and when we come back, big fight preview.
On Friday, March 13th, Pro Box TV returns to Kissimmee, Florida for another action-packed contender series. In the 10-round main event, Pro Box TV alumnus and fast-rising world-ranked light heavyweight Naji Lopez takes another stern test against Mexican top contender Manuel Gallegos. Up-and-coming Dominic Valle will take on battle-hardened veteran Eduardo Ramirez of Mexico.
Well, the last time you saw us, it was rumored. Now it's confirmed. Bill Haney himself saying that it's going to be Devin Haney versus Rolly Romero in Brooklyn, Barclays Center. That is when it is going down, 5/30/26. So, for this May 30th fight, big fight breakdown. A bum Uber driver knocked out by Gervonta Davis, yes? And
no, that's a good win. That's a good win. That's what I said. That's a good win.
Uber driver.
That's a good win. As a matter of fact, that was a good win, but he lost probably every second of the fight. So that was actually one of those fights where he should have had a rematch, right? He should have probably made a rematch that fight.
He knocked him out pretty bad.
So what?
One punch shot.
No, it was a good shot. Well, you said it. I'm not defining you can punch. I'm telling you he was losing 5-6-0.
He set it up, though. He set it up nice.
No, Rolly fell in.
Yeah,
Rolly fell in.
He fell in the entire
and
fight.
you pay the price. You pay the price when you fall in against a sharp counter puncher. Listen, Davis has ability.
Still got to pull the trigger.
Okay, so tell me about it. The counter punching of Devin Haney, excellent counter puncher, great boxer, good movement, right? Good combination.
Haney has a good jab. That's going to be the key of the fight.
Problem,
Is Haney's distance control with the jab. The plan would be to disallow Rolly to be physical and have that physicality on the inside. Because Rolly's pretty physically strong.
Yes.
Punch a little bit as well. But you can offset that, with the athleticism of Haney, the smart boxing of Haney IQ-wise, and, of course, a varied, versatile jab that Haney does have off of that working off that athleticism and IQ. So, you think that's probably the the breakdown of the fight as far as what you're looking for when the bell rings.
This fight for me is going to be about Haney answering the phone. He's got to keep that right hand up when he jabs, just like the Ryan Garcia fight. That crossbow, long bow, jab where that hand comes down. That's where Ryan was able to catch him with that hook over his jab. Granted, Rollies doesn't have the length of Ryan, but he's very explosive.
That was also a Haney trying to come forward. Like a lot of times when you have a versatile jab, you'll jab off the back foot.
So he's got. I was gonna wait. Let me finish. He's got to play. It's more so than I think even the jab. It's going to be that push pull and making sure that his hands are in the right spots, because Rolly is explosive. He's explosive and powerful. And yes, Ryan is explosive and powerful and fast as well, and he's got that fast switch. But Rollies has a bit of that too, and he understands range. I think sometimes even better than Ryan, which we saw in the fight. He's able to close the distance in between the guy. He's longer. Devin's got very long reach. He's got a very good jab, but he's got to be sure to make sure he's using those feints and those pulls with a guy. When you got a guy who's explosive but a little shorter, you got to get that first move out of him and then pull, make him reach, make him fall forward, just like he did in Gervonta Davis fight, and look to counter from there.
If Ryan Garcia uses the jab that he used against Mario Barrios against Rolly, he probably wins the Rolly fight, right? I mean, it was a very consistent left hand.
If Rolly doesn't have his number, because he very well may have Ryan's number.
Yeah, and like
I've heard some experts say that from what they've seen in the amateurs and some sparring session, and it kind of played itself out that way during the fight, which is odd.
Rolly can be mean, right?
Very mean.
Underratedly mean in the ring.
So it's funny when I was analyzing the Rolly Ryan fight. I was like, well, for Ryan, just keep it long, look to check with the hook when Rolly gets over his skis, because he does that a lot. And then for Rolly, make it physical, because he's rough. He's very rough on the inside. You see him. He pushes on guys. He pulls on their head. He punches on the inside. It's almost like a dirty boxing, but he does it just on the cusp of legal. Just keeps it legal so the ref can't see too much. It's expert the way that he's able to make a fight rough on the inside but still be effective offensively.
When we look at the Ryan Garcia fight, we can't unsee what happened. Yes, PEDs made it a no contest, but this concept that he fought emotionally, he fought angry, as you said, Paul, he was moving forward a lot. It had problems with his jab. It made him a little more reckless. Do we see it now, because he looks so great since then, that the emotional side got to him and made him fight the wrong kind of fight? Can we kind of take that and go, it wasn't just Ryan Garcia's PEDs, he also fought the wrong kind of fight?
I think he just underestimated Ryan. I think the whole team underestimated Ryan, because during the week, I think they fell for Ryan's antics. They thought he was really out of his mind, and they thought he really wasn't training and all this other stuff. And I don't know how much Ryan trained, but obviously Ryan was on PEDs, but he also showed up for 12 rounds. Remember Bill Haney during the fight week was talking about, was just doing the Drago. If he dies, he dies. I think they just assumed they could actually hurt Ryan, who was maybe mentally in a different place.
Hurt him at one point.
You talked about he was practicing the jumping hook.
Yeah,
so
they
game planned in a way that's not a very Devin Haney-like fight, and both father and son kind of game plan that way. You could see by the way they were speaking on fight week as well, more so the father as well. The father was almost like expecting a knockout. And then the way Devin's body language was in the fight, very square, coming forward, very square. Obviously, when you're square, you're more of a target, but you can throw more options with your power punches if you're more squared. Almost no respect. So that also led to him getting hit with a hook. If you're square, you're easier to hit with that hook, right? So I mean,
less bladed.
I don't think we'll ever see that Devin Haney again. Either way, it was Ryan on PEDs, so fortunately for him, the fight's on a no contest. He still took the physical damage in the fight, which isn't fair, but at the same time, it was going to be a weird night for Devin anyway, because just the way he fought that night. I don't think you'll ever see that again. I think that was a learning experience too, as far as don't show up thinking you're a puncher when you're not. You show up to do what you do. When you do what you do, you're a very good fighter. It's what got you here. What you always say, you dance with the girl you brought to the party, right? To the ball. Devin brought the jab, athleticism, IQ girl to the ball, not the puncher. So Devin's always got to make sure he keeps a fight within that kind of realm, and that's his best ticket to victory. I think he's probably learned that. I don't think we'll ever see the Devin Haney we saw in the Ryan Garcia fight ever again.
You always say that the best champions are guys that know what they are and they know what they're not.
Yeah.
And I think Haney learned what he's not that night, and we haven't seen anywhere near that since then. He fought Ramirez, who could be a dangerous guy, but was still a little long in the tooth. Went out there extremely cautiously. Then he fought Norman, who's very, very dangerous and young and hungry, and he fought nearly a perfect fight. He fought very confident. He put him confidently,
but he fought his fight.
Yes, controlled the space, controlled the pace. One of his better performances, that and Lomachenko, I think, are two of Devin Haney's best performances to date, where he was really locked in and focused and fighting super dangerous guys. So yeah, I agree with you, Jim. I don't think we see that version of Devin Haney again. But again, Rollies is a wild card. You gotta fight a perfect fight with him too, because he hits hard, he's explosive, and he'll find holes.
So how does Rolly offset that game plan of Haney? Because you figure Haney's gonna always have the jab IQ.
You know what else Rolly's is good at? Talking shit.
I was gonna ask that. Could
so
he try
are the press
to get...
conferences between Bill Haney and Rolly Romero?
Oh, it's going to be gold. It's going to be gold. Rolly is one of the funniest fight marketers in the game today by a long shot. He tweeted the other day at Ryan Garcia. He goes, "You can take testosterone, you can take ostarine, you can take cocaine. Have fun. I don't care. Let's fight." It's gold, man. You're going to deal with that the whole way up. If he can get under Devin's skin, if he can get under Bill's skin, and they maybe change the
Bill kind of knows how to sell a fight too. I think some of what Bill
does, but he gets pissed too. He got pissed in the Ryan
But
situation.
with Ryan, it made the trainer and the fighter emotional, and it played right into Ryan's hands.
Ryan crazy like a fox.
Will Rolly Romero maybe try the same? Even he doesn't get the same kind of effect. You say we never see that fight again. When you try to get under his skin and go, I'll make him mad, and he'll do the same thing to me.
I don't think Rolly has a choice. That's just what he does. He's just that guy. Like, I don't think he's smart. He's very smart. He's clever. But in terms of, I think that's just what he's going to do. It's a fight, and he treats it as such. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to the build-up. I'm looking forward to the fight as well. I think all around this is an excellent matchup, and it's unification in a really good weight class.
Does Rolly Romero try to take space away the way he did against Ryan Garcia? Ryan Garcia just couldn't seem to get his punches off. Didn't really find the kind of, you talk about the length and explosiveness.
That's the game plan. I think Rolly's probably physically stronger and try to get inside. But how do you get inside? Can you do jab with the jabber? Try to put Haney out of position. Haney's a master at that game, but you can jab with a jabber. Can you offset his jab and make Haney bust position with your jab, and then from there build on that, with big right hands.
An unconventional jab, yeah. If you jab with a jabber, like because Devin's
unconventional and being able to punch helps.
Yes. And Devin's jab, he's got a spearing jab. He fights like a fencer. He's very bladed.
But Devin's jab is also versatile. It's not just one kind of jab.
No, of course. But but in terms of he can do certain jab techniques that Rollies can't do per se, and he can use their assets. They both use their assets very well for what their body types are.
Another fight, of course, coming up on our air, Pro Box TV. That is March 21st. It is Lester Martinez versus Emmanuel Aleem. Talked to Emmanuel Aleem yesterday. The interesting thing is Aleem had that right that right attitude in the conversation. Not happy to be here. I still have stuff to do. I know I'm going to be in hostile territory. I'm seasoned. I'm prepared. Before we talk about the nuts and bolts of the fight and our big fight breakdown, talk about the attitude, Chris, of Emmanuel Aleem for those people who didn't see it.
I thought the interview was very telling. Being able to see him, look at him in the face, and ask him questions and hear his response. Very measured, very calm. It seemed very happy's not the right word. Content with where he's at in terms of his career and his preparation, which I think is a big thing for a guy like him who may have taken some fights on short notice, been the B-side on big cards. In this fight, I think he feels like he's been given an opportunity. Sure, Lester is the guy that everyone's going to be looking at, but I think he looks at himself as a very viable 50-50 type fight. I think it was very telling that we got to speak to him to see how poised he seemed in the interview. Because honestly, he fights like that too. He brings it, but he's calm and he's smart and he picks his spots. But he's a very, very high contact fighter who likes to be in the mix. So if you guys haven't listened to that interview, go check it out. If you don't know much about Emmanuel Aleem, which a lot of people might not, but us boxing heads, we know how dangerous he is.
And Lester Martinez, not happy to be here, that he's done with this and that he's accomplished everything he wanted, and this is the spotlight that he wanted. But a happy guy. He seems, contented about where he is in life. But he talked, Paulie, about leaving Guatemala, getting out of his comfort zone, working with Bomac, staying away from everything he knows to really get ready for the camp for this fight that he sees as a huge opportunity. So mentally, you could argue he's in a great place too.
Yeah, it'll focus you to change of pace, listen, you're in Guatemala in the winter or you're in Nebraska in the winter. two different places, right? I mean, mentally, you'll get into a different headspace just on that alone. But of course, the gym atmosphere with Balmac, a lot of good fighters up there.
They were all smiling though. What is that? I want to ask Balmac. Why
I
are
think
all those guys so
I think
happy all
everybody
the time?
feels sharp and everybody feels good. You know, when you're having a good camp, I think everybody's in a good mood. You know, and I think I got that energy both from Balmac and Lester, as well as from Aleem in the interview there. I feel like both guys are in a good place mentally going into the fight, so they'll bring their A game on fight night.
And nuts and bolts wise, when it comes to what kind of fight we're going to see, when do you think we're going to see the fight, Chris? When do you think we're going to know? What round are we going to know this is the kind of fight we're getting into? Joshawn James went out and defied our expectations. When I tried to crack Lester Martinez in the mouth, I thought he would then go back to boxing after a couple rounds because he's tall, he's rangy, he had a faith in his boxing ability. He tried to stay there and slug it out, and Martinez laid him out in that same ring, same building, same city. Strategy-wise, when do you think we know what kind of fight we're getting into?
I think very early on. Could be the first round, could be the second. Aleem might come out a little more cautious in round one, and Lester may as well. But I think by round two, we're going to know what the hell kind of fight we're in, and I think it's going to be a firefight. I think it's going to be high contact. Neither one of these guys are big movers, but they might keep it close to the chest in the first round, but second round, I think they come out guns blazing, and we have a shootout for as long as it lasts.
I think by the end of the first round, some big punches will be flying already.
Yeah, I agree.
Even by the end of the first round.
Who's under more pressure? Because when you look at Lester Martinez after the Christian and Bailey fight, so many eyeballs on him. Hasn't had that breakout win yet necessarily. Of course, beat Carlos Gongora. That's impressive. We talk about Joshawn James. That's impressive. Is the pressure on him to not just win, but to be the knockout artist we saw glimpses of in the Christian and Bailey fight? He was landing big punches. Is there more pressure on him, Paulie?
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, I think there's more pressure on him. But with Aleem, too, I think Aleem is the kind of guy who puts pressure on himself because he knows this may be the last opportunity for him. You know, this is a big opportunity and maybe the biggest of his career. And letting this opportunity slip through his fingers, there may not be another one. With Aleem, though, he's more in a position to where if he loses and looks good, he can continue to sort of stay in that zone that he's at, maybe get another opportunity, while Lester has to not only win but look good, because for Lester, this is looked at as a stay busy fight, even though it's dangerous. Aleem, on the other hand, will have all to gain by his own standards if he sets the bar high, which I assume he is. I think he's one of those mature kind of people and fighters. I think he'll look at it like this is his last chance. But in reality, if Aleem loses looking good, he probably doesn't lose a lot of status in terms of the status that he's at now, but he has a lot to gain if he's able to win the fight.
Definitely a Pro Box TV fighter.
Yeah.
Either way. Especially if he goes out there, it still looks viable. I mean, his style certainly fits our mentality.
The idea of Bomac now, we know he was getting ready with Terrence Crawford for the Canelo fight, obviously simulating Canelo, same size, similar style in a sense, big puncher, especially in his prime. The influence of Bomac on the style of Lester Martinez, Chris, is that something you're looking forward to seeing? We've seen a little bit of the development. We saw Christian and Bailey. He started boxing, doing really well, but didn't start boxing until midway through the fight, hence the draw. Does he start a little sooner? Are we going to see a little more slickness with the footwork? What do you want to see with that Bomac influence?
Bomac strikes me as a systems guy, training systems. And what I mean by that is he has a system in terms of how the gym operates, in terms of all the guys working together. He's a systems guy in terms of technically what you do when your opponent does that. Systems guy in terms of that we're going to do this to set up that. He's also a strategy guy, so he thinks far ahead about what he's got in front of him. You know, I asked him for an important reason, you know, what he knew about Aleem, and he gave some glowing remarks. I was like, well, if you know Aleem, you know he's tough, and he certainly touched on that. And he gave him a lot of respect. So he's definitely been looking at him and seeing where the holes are going to be. So you got to think that with a camp where they're more focused, and I'm not saying that Lester wasn't getting the attention in camp during the Canelo, but it's very hard when you're training alongside a guy and you're fighting on the same card when one guy's fighting Canelo Alvarez, you know, and you're also fighting on the card. So now I think with a more focused training camp for Lester going into this specific guy, I think we're going to see a little more enactment of strategy because the IQ of Lester is often overlooked because he's so physical. So I do think we'll see some more of his boxing IQ, which was on display in the second half of the Christian and Billy fight, like you said, Jimmy. But I think maybe we see it a little bit earlier. But it's just in Lester's blood, man. He's got that Guatemalan blood. He wants to fight, and he wants to feel your power. I want you to feel mine. We're gonna compare, you know, early on. So I think we are gonna get action, but I think as the rounds wear on, we're gonna see more and more of the strategy from the Bomac system play itself out.
As a system for everything. You guys don't know that movie.
Which one?
I don't know that movie.
My Blue Heaven.
My Blue
Heaven. Yeah, I remember that
He
one.
has a system for everything.
What a day for a mo. Huh? I like my women, I don't know, a little more dirty or something. I don't know. I remember it well. Steve Martin saw in the theater.
System for everything.
All right, so, Paulie, Christian Mbili brought the boxing out of Lester Martinez with his physical pressure, his strength, his being right in the pocket. It made Lester Martinez go from the puncher that we've known to a bit more of a boxer. Does Aleem have the style to do that same thing? Is it going to bring that out in him? Or is a power puncher good enough for Aleem? We might see that early.
I think Aleem is more crafty than Mbili. So I think Lester will try to offset that by bringing pressure and being physical, but he may have to adjust a little bit. I don't know if athleticism-wise Lester matches Aleem. So I think, Lester has some IQ. He's got some good boxing, but I think athleticism. Chan, what do you think? I think Aleem might be a little bit better of an athlete than Lester. So I think Lester has to make it a little bit more physical. Plus, Lester's a naturally bigger guy. Aleem has fought as low as 154.
Another
That's
fight.
more fundamental.
Yeah.
Yeah, structurally, yeah.
Another fight coming up on Pro Box TV with our March Madness. It is in Kissimmee, Florida, March 13th. Naji Lopez taking on Manuel Gallegos. Naji Lopez, I say it all the time, is kind of the emotional godfather of the Pro Box TV team. When you talk to those fighters training up in North Florida, they always talk about Naji Lopez, what he brings, his maturity level, how they all look up to him and his ability. Manuel Gallegos, though, a big step up in terms of experience, a big step up in terms of his ruggedness, his ability to stay in a fight. Naji Lopez, excellent offensive fighter, but when fighters have stayed in the pocket and been able to trade back, he has taken some punches, especially early on. Chris, what is the test here for Naji Lopez?
Discipline. To not expose himself because he's thinking so offensively, to set things up using his jab, to be careful with legitimate puncher in front of him. Gallegos can punch. We've had him on our air. Also, Gallegos, you mentioned all the things that the reason this is a step up, experience-wise too. He's been on bigger stages as Gallegos compared to Naji Lopez. So there's that, and he's performed well on those stages. I keep thinking of the Khalil Cole fight that he upset him and stopped him, even though he got stopped in the rematch. So he's been there before. He's been the B-side. He's been
Diego
the underdog.
Pacheco, big name right now.
Yeah, huge name.
Him,
Exactly. So. Yeah, there is that. But because he is a dangerous guy, I want to see Naji focus behind that jab, utilize his discipline, but also be the offensive machine that we've seen him to be. Because that is a huge part of what he is. Yes, he has great boxing skills. Yes, he can stay on the outside and jab athletically because of his frame and his speed. But he is a serious puncher. And I think a lot of the world haven't seen how offensive he can be. He's a knockout puncher, and I would like to see him go out there, fight a disciplined fight, but still go for the knockout the way that he always does.
You talked about Calvin Henderson, Paulie, last time out. Calvin Henderson, an experienced guy who'd fought on big stages, fought big opponents. Yeah, but he didn't really give it his all. It felt like he had kind of accepted early on that Naji Lopez was going to be the offensive force, stayed against the ropes and got finished. Is it mental where Gallegos isn't going to be the guy to concede early that I'm here to show up and get my paycheck? Is that a big part of it?
Yeah, Gallegos has that Mexican orgullo, the pride, and I think he fights that way. Every time he fights, I think you see that in his style, you see that in his demeanor. So to domesticate a guy like Gallegos, you're going to have your skill set intact, but you're also going to have your mindset sharp and mean in every second of the fight, because he can pounce on you at any point, and he's looking to pounce on you at any point. Gallegos is going to fight hungry. Gallegos fights physical. Gallegos fights aggressively. So to domesticate an aggressive guy with an aggressive mindset, you're going to have the combination of the right mentality as well as the physical prowess. Naji has all those things, but sometimes he does get sucked into a firefight. With Henderson, it was good to see Naji not looking for the firefight when he didn't have to find it. He used his jab. Henderson sort of accepted that. I think with Gallegos, it's going to test that patience a little bit more, because Gallegos is going to look to walk through that jab. Gallegos is going to look to try to frustrate Naji in a way where Naji maybe accepts that firefight as opposed to being disciplined. Not that Naji cannot accept a firefight. I think there's had to be spots where you accept the firefight and then you go back off your jab and back off your skills. You can't just stay in a firefight. That's how you wind up on the canvas.
And yeah, absolutely. I think Naji, because he is so good offensively, he's going to need to stay in a fight at times, but you don't want to do it on 50-50s.
Yeah.
And I think Naji's good enough that he can angle himself to where it's not a 50-50 exchange.
That's a good chin.
And Gallegos is a guy, if you give him an opening, he's going for it.
Yeah.
He's going to take it. If he hurts you, he's going to try and finish you. Gallegos is a tough guy. He's the definition of when I think of a tough guy, he's a tough guy. He's going to come at you. You're going to hit him on the chin. He's going to smile at you, and he's going to come swinging. This is a real test. This is a real test for Naji Lopez, and
it's a Mexican
could
fighter.
be fun too. Yeah,
It's a Mexican fighter.
He's
You
a
hit him
true
on the
Mexican.
chin, you wake him up, and now you got to fight.
Yeah, you always talk about let sleeping dogs lie. Gallegos is that kind of guy.
Yeah, don't crack him in the chin and wake him up.
Yeah, just jab him, lull him asleep.
The flip side of this is Naji Lopez in line to fight Beterbiev. That fight ended up falling through, but it showed Paulie that he's on the short list for some really big names at 175 pounds. The light heavyweight division, very, very stacked around. A lot of great names. They know who Naji Lopez is. What is the best outcome for him in terms of he's going to be compared to every great light heavyweight in this fight? Where, he looked good, but could he take on Beterbiev? Could he take on Bivol? Take on this guy?
Yeah,
that
this
guy?
is a kind of fight that I think will expose a lot because Gallegos has the upset over Cole. Right?
Yes.
So that's a comparison fight right there.
Who's a peer of Naji Lopez in terms of
that's
where
a
they're at in their
comparison fight
careers.
right there.
Yes.
So it's not just the win; it's how you win, making sure you don't lose because Gallegos is a threat enough to beat you. And so all those variables will put you in that comparison. You take all these variables, you analyze them in the way he looks in this fight, and then you say, okay, against Beterbiev this, against Beterbiev this, and you'll see by the public perception if he winds up belonging in that. After this fight, I think we'll have more answers because if he's able to blow through Gallegos or dominate him or just beat him easily, I think that's the next ceiling is the world-class level. That's it. You've officially established yourself as a world-class level. If you keep dominating every time you step up, well, the only place to go there then is world-class. I think your Gallegoses of the world are the last step to that world-class level. If you can dominate this level, I think your next step is the world-class level.
Well, we got a question in from Foxy Idol. Had a very interesting one. They said, Paulie, Chris, you guys campaigned near each other's weight classes in your prime. Were there any talk of you guys fighting? And if there was, who would have won it?
We've had this conversation a million times.
I haven't heard it.
We were like 5 years apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are
First time for me.
Age-wise, we are
4 years
4
apart.
years apart. But even like career-wise, we were like 5 years off.
Because Chris came from kickboxing.
Yeah.
So basically,
I started late.
my prime was Chris's prospect stage, and then my dip-off was Chris's rising stage to contender. So I guess during that moment, there would have been a moment maybe to make it where Chris was rising and I was falling down. But I think but Chris got in all at once. Because remember, Chris went from ESPN level to just beating Provodnikov. So all of a sudden, he sort of skipped the stage where maybe the fight with me could have happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's where he jumped over it. And so he went from Provodnikov to Pacquiao to Spence. And during that time, I was just teetering.
And then we were supposed to fight on the same card. When I fought Amir Khan, Paulie was supposed to be on the undercard fighting Danny O'Connor.
Yeah,
he got cut
I was a
during
co-main
training camp.
event on that card. As a matter of fact, the poster, I still have it somewhere. It's Chris and Khan and me and O'Connor in the co-main event. And I got cut. I was training with southpaws because O'Connor was a southpaw, and I got hit with a. I remember I slipped a left cross, and it raked across my face here and cut me. Only time I've ever been cut in sparring was not the shot, but the forearm raked across my face and cut me.
And then a year later, because so we weren't on that card. I fought Khan, and then a year later, I had injured my knee in the Spence fight, and I had 2 years off. So even if there was another time for us to have been in discussion to fight, it would have been during the time where I was not active. Yeah. And when I came back, Paulie, you were pretty much, that was your last fight.
Yeah.
I came back in 2018, and what was your last fight? 2018?
17.
17. Yeah.
So if so. Yeah, so we can only fight on video games.
Yeah.
And then
How does that go?
I don't know. Depends who knows how to play better.
There you go.
But I'll tell you, if there was a chance to fight, it would have been during that era. And during that era, I gotta say, Chris would have probably beat me during that era because he was.
I was still really physical then.
Yeah. Higher level, and I was dipping down.
At the primes, though, that would have been. You had so much more experience from the amateurs and fighting high level guys young, because I didn't get to fight the high level guys young. All my high level stuff when I was young was kickboxing. Yeah. I fought world class.
Well, that's why you came
kickboxing.
along late too. That's a good question because, the question is it has context because I started sooner, got there sooner because of my amateur career. You started later because your kickboxing career, and then got there a little later because your kickboxing career. So although we were close in age,
we weren't close in careers.
Career path,
our
career arc was different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why it ended up separating us.
Well, speaking of up-and-coming fighters, I have to ask the question. On the same card, the Viera Brothers, of course, it's Kenyon and Dominic fighting on that same card in Kissimmee, Florida. What's your thought on Number one, the talent level of that family. You have Marquez Vaya as well, only has one loss. The talent level of the family and where these two guys can go in their respective weight classes, Chris. We're on the subject of weight classes and ceilings. What do you think?
Well, since we're talking about me during my days, Dominic reminds me a lot of myself when I was younger. Very physical, threw a lot of punches, good body puncher, good jabber, long, tall, big for the weight class. A lot of similarities in that. And even when I was speaking to him, when we first started to get to know him early in my career here with Pro Box, I was a lot of things. I'm listening to him talk, and I'm like, this kid reminds me a lot of how I was when I was younger. The family all works hard. They're all gym rats. They all grew up together. They all have very different styles, too, which is really interesting. Marcus Valle is a bruiser, bigger, higher weight classes, comes forward, beats guys up, very high contact fighter. Dominic is a volume puncher with a good jab and great body work. And then Kenyon's super dynamic, long, good boxer puncher. He is offensive but also defensively sound, even though it's so early in his career. But you can see his higher level thinking that he has even at such a young age. But yeah, these guys, they're all studs in their own respect. And they're fun to watch, too, every single one of them. Because Kenyon's looking to knock you out. Dominic's looking to beat you the hell up. And Marcus is just always an action-packed fight.
Your thoughts about their ability to move on, not just to that next level in terms of skills, Paulie, but Puerto Rican family, crowd loves them, very, very popular in Florida. Quick rise for them?
All that, there's a good built-in fan base. They have a good local following. Obviously, Puerto Ricans are big boxing fans, so you play on that with them. They also have physical styles, so which the Latins tend to like, Puerto Ricans tend to like. They're good fighters. Your Puerto Ricans like your winners. Obviously, yep. They're good winner type fighters.
Would you say Puerto Rican island style or New York style?
No, they're close to Florida. They're in Florida. They're closer to Puerto Rico. It's funny because Marcus especially is like a Puerto Rican from Puerto Rico. He's more flat-footed and he's looking to be a bruiser, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Dominic has a little bit of both, because he has those quick in and out feet. But at the same time, he goes to the body a lot. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. What's funny, because old days, every region of the world had their style. But because of the internet today, I feel like so many things cross-pollinate now. You see a lot of the Russian mechanisms here. You see a lot of the Russian mechanisms using things that are here as well. And even when it comes to Latin styles, it used to be, there used to be a New York style and a Puerto Rican style. I feel like today
because you had to grow up in that gym. Like now you get to see everything.
But now you see everything. Yeah, between traveling, between the internet, between people moving around a lot and picking up different methods.
That's why Vegas made me so much better.
Yeah.
When I went to Vegas, I got entirely worldwide styles.
So there's a lot of opportunity for fighters nowadays to sort of add things to their style that maybe are not from their region, and they become a little bit of hybrids. I think all in all, I'd say Marcus reminds me a lot of an island Puerto Rican, like a Puerto Rican island fighter. But I say Dominic and even Kenyon have a little bit more cross-pollination to their styles as well. And that's not to say one is better than the other, because they're all very effective at what they do. It's just their base styles are that way to me, from what I see from my eyes.
Well, they've grown up on Pro Box TV. We've seen them all the time, but check out the Viera Brothers coming up soon.
Two brothers, one card, one last name.
Fire! I wouldn't say there's a rivalry between me and my brother. There's more of a friendly competition. We all want to see each other grow and see each other win, and however we do it, as long as we're at the top, we don't care who's leading the way.
Competition builds fighters, but family builds standards.
We put on a show like we do every time. Domination is all I know.
Saw how good my brothers were doing, Dominic and Marcus. They were both, winning every fight, like rising on the ranks fast. And my dad was telling me, like, if you just stuck to it, you could be in the same position they are right now.
In this house, you don't inherit a name. You earn it.
Like, you have to be 110% in it, or else, like, you're not gonna go nowhere. Everyone that's at the top right now, they eat, sleep, train, and like they live boxing. So if you're not living boxing, you're not gonna be at that level.
But the Valle name isn't just Florida. It's Puerto Rico.
I can't explain how much I love Puerto Rico, and I can't explain how much I resonate with the people from Puerto Rico. Everything in my life is Puerto Rican. I grew up with a Puerto Rican heritage. my dad, straight out of Lamont. I want to take Puerto Rico to the next level as well, and I want to be one of the biggest stars in Puerto Rico. I know with my people in Puerto Rico, my support that I have in Puerto Rico, that's going to be a very easy route.
Island roots. Florida grind. Now, the Pro Box Spotlight. Two brothers. Same night.
It's beautiful. Last time I fought with Marcus, and Dominic was supposed to fight on the same card. It's disappointing because the opponent didn't make weight, but I'm glad to finally be fighting on Dominic's card. Me and him together.
They fight alone in the ring. But they carry the same blood, the same flag, the same name.
I'm in here to be successful, follow my dreams that I had as a kid. See, I'm not chasing nobody in particular. I'm chasing legacy. I'm chasing, I'm chasing the money. I'm chasing everything that comes with the sports.
Dominic Valle. Kenyan Valle. Fighting on the same card. Live on Pro Box TV.
Both on the card in Kissimmee, Florida, right here on Pro Box TV, March 13th. Get your tickets now. Watch it here on Pro Box TV. I'll take a quick break. When we come back, time for the mailbag.
On Friday, March 13th, Pro Box TV returns to Kissimmee, Florida for another action-packed contender series. In the 10-round main event, Pro Box TV alumnus and fast-rising world-ranked light heavyweight Naji Lopez takes another stern test against Mexican top contender Manuel Gallegos. Up-and-coming Dominic Valle will take on battle-hardened veteran Eduardo Ramirez of Mexico.
And time for the boxing scene mailbag. Of course, get yours in with our comments. So, a great question. This one, especially, I think, for Chris Algeria, for a reason that we will get into in a second. For both of you guys, what was the greatest U.S. Olympic boxing team ever, besides the 1976 team, which featured Sugar Ray Leonard, Leon Spinks, and Michael Spinks? Everybody forgets, Howard Davis, also on that team. Nobody ever remembers him for some reason. But Howard Davis also on that team. Chris, you were both of you actually recently working on a movie about the 84 team, which to me, maybe it's because of my age, was widely considered the greatest or one of the greatest ever was the 84 team. Chris, what do you think about the Olympic boxing teams?
Yeah, 84 is great. There's going to be a caveat, but I'll let my esteemed partner talk about that one. But yeah, I mean, you had Evander Holyfield, Pernell Whitaker. Henry Tillman beat Mike Tyson twice. I know he didn't do a whole lot in the pros, but
Tyrell Biggs.
Tyrell Biggs was phenomenal, who didn't live up to his potential because in the amateurs he was tremendous. Beat Lennox Lewis in the 84 Olympics, and but as a pro didn't really work out to be as good as you would expect him to be, especially with the style that he had. And I always say this about Olympic teams. A lot of times they tend to mimic the era before them. A lot of them guys had a lot of Ali in terms of their movement, their shuffle, their slickness on the outside. Meldrick Taylor was there as well because I'm thinking about the shoe shine that they all used to use during that time. I mean, a tremendous team.
Virgil Hill.
Virgil Hill, Quicksilver, fantastic fighter. Those guys also in terms of what they had is in terms of the unit and the coaching and the way they came together because of the tragedy prior to that team. I think those guys were a special group, but there's going to be some argument, right, Champ?
Yeah. I mean, there's for one, in terms of accomplishments, 84 team, of course, the accomplishments, so many medals and all this and so on and so forth. But you have an Olympics where you're missing.
Mark Breland.
One of the greatest U.S. amateur of all time.
But you're missing the two biggest rival nations in boxing in that Olympics. The Soviet Union and Cuba both boycotted those Olympics, so and they would have had the majority of the favorites for the Olympic boxing medals. So when you eliminate the two countries that have the majority of the favorites, what happens? Your country becomes the favorite, right? Even though in all the weight classes.
Henry Tillman lost to both the Cuban and the Russian prior to the Olympics and became the gold medals.
Yeah. So and then arguably even lost in the Olympics and got some decisions.
It was very controversial against the Russian Musoni, very controversial in the finals against DeWitt.
Well, the Italian, right? Musoni,
yeah.
I'll tell you what, as far as best Olympic teams that went on to become great pros as a group. Because again, as far as accomplishments, the '84 team is high up there, both as far as accomplishments in the Olympics and even what they did in the pros. It's very high. It's hard to argue that team, but there's that caveat, like Champ said. So missing the Soviet Union and missing Cuba, you're going to get a lot less medals, or at least a lot less high-level medals, because you may draw those Soviets and Cubans in non-medal rounds, and you get eliminated. And then you don't get any medal, let alone a gold medal. Having said that, it did have guys like Breedlin who were beating everybody anyway. It did have guys like Biggs, who had won the World Amateur Championships a couple years before, and it had guys like
Whitaker as well.
Pernell Whitaker, who had won the Pan Am Games and had beaten the Cuban in the Pan Am Games. But remember that Cuban. One thing that you got to understand about the Cuban that was in Pernell Whitaker's weight class, he was the Olympic gold medalist in the 1980 Games, and he had beaten Whitaker in the finals of the '82 World Championships. And then Whitaker had beaten him in the finals of the Pan American Games in '83. So there was a showdown that was going to happen in the '84 Olympics that we never saw because the Cubans boycotted the '84 Olympics. Because Pernell and that guy were basically on collisions in each tournament, and were meeting in the finals of each tournament, and that guy had beaten Pernell in the '82 World Championships. And
without him, Pernell essentially had an easy walk to the gold. Yeah.
And Pernell had beaten him too. So
easy because of how good he was.
And Pernell had beaten him too in the '83 Pan Am Games. Pernell had beaten him as well. I forgot the Cuban's name, but there's we missed out on a nice little rivalry in the '84 Games with that fight. As far as going on to the pros, Olympic teams, 96 is heavy.
96.
88 is heavy as well.
88
is heavy as well.
Right.
As far as how many of those guys became really good fighters and really good champions. Even if I go to 88, and again, it's hard for me to just make a decision on that question. It's such a good question that you probably need more time to analyze it, thoroughly look at everybody, and just make a decision on who the best Olympic team would be.
96 had Floyd Mayweather, had Fernando Vargas, it had
Tarver.
I'm trying to think of other standout pros in 96, but that team, and also Reed was the
David Diaz became a world champion as well.
Reed was
David
gold
Reed
medalist.
became a gold medal. David Diaz became a world champion as well.
David Diaz became a world champion. And that was a team that I know Mayweather was robbed. Vargas thought he was robbed. Tarver lost to Vasily Zhirov.
Tarver arguably was robbed too.
Arguably robbed as well. So when I've looked back to those matches, man, you should have had only that level of gold. Should have been 4 or 5. And
well, that's why we saw it in '84 where there was so many goals, because we were lacking all those guys that would have been able to knock them off. But in terms of we're going back to what they did in the pros. Both those teams pretty comparable if you compare them professionally. But because the '84, even with the caveat, has so many goals, it's hard not to pick them. Because of if you're equal in the pros, but you got more medals, even if you didn't have those killer teams, it's really hard to go against it.
88 has Riddick Bowe becomes world champion. Ray Mercer becomes a world champion. Roy Jones.
You often forgot Ray Mercer gold medals.
Merciless Ray Mercer.
Roy Jones becomes a world champion. Arthur Johnson becomes a world champion. Michael Carbajal becomes a world champion. You have some good fighters there on the 88 team as well.
Lennox Lewis and Galata also in the heavyweight division 88 for Canada and Poland.
I looked up that one. Galata was actually in the cruiserweight heavyweight division. He wasn't a super heavyweight at the Olympics. At those Olympics, I was, when you mentioned that to me, I was like, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah.
Galata lost in the semis to the Korean guy that Mercer knocked out in the finals.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, we could have had Mercer Galata.
We could have had Mercer Galata in the final. But
awesome
the Korean actually stopped Galata in the semis.
Wow.
And then Mercer stopped him in like one round. Mercer stopped almost everybody in the 88 Olympics. If you look at the 88, there's a cool 88 Olympics video, the highlight video I sent it to you guys. You see the whole American run through the 88 Olympics. I love it. It's on YouTube.
Mercer always had world class.
Mercer stopped almost every opponent in the 88 Olympics.
No one could take his punches.
He was really merciless.
High point of U.S. boxing amateur of the 80s. When you look at all those pros and all those medals,
it's kind of a shame.
Close to that.
It's kind of a shame with the
96 was kind of the.
It's kind of a shame with 80 that we boycotted the U.S. Olympics. U.S. boycotted the 80 games because the 80 team had Donald Curry on it and certain good fighters too. Because if you look at Olympic glory back then, especially, would catapult you as a pro.
Yes.
And the 80 team didn't have the catapult to take you into the pros as with so much star power, and I think they were sort of robbed of that ability to have the star power, because I heard the 80 team had some good guys, like for example Curry being one of them.
The star power, champ. I think
84, a lot of those guys had star power coming out.
Yeah, but I think
contract right away, everything, you know.
But I think
it comes from the
and the finals were on ABC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Pernell wasn't even going to go. He wanted to turn pro. He was ready for a big signing bonus and everything, and then he was dragged into the amateurs. Like, we need this.
There's no Soviets and Cubans. Might as well go win a gold medal.
Yeah. Also, it was in LA. That was a big part of it. That was a really big part of it. So, but in terms of launching them to star power, I think it undersells how difficult it is to win a gold medal, because not only did those guys become stars, but they all were tremendous. Like, I mean, some we just mentioned the best fighters of our generation. You had Floyd Mayweather in there. I mean, okay, even further, we got Andre Ward, we got Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, 92. You got Sugar Ray Leonard. We're mentioning guys that are like standout top fighters ever.
Yeah. My mom knows who those people are.
Exactly.
That's always my thing. My mom knows
Evander Holyfield, Paul Whitaker. These are such standouts, even amongst standouts. So winning gold is oftentimes we've had gold medalists on our air say it's harder to win a gold medal than it is to win a world title. Yeah. And it's very true.
What's always so funny to me on the wrestling side, Chris, you and I were both wrestlers, is there's such an emphasis on the Olympics. World Championships, the same guys, is not that much easier.
But it's the
it
draw
only happens every 4 years.
It's the draw too. It's the draw. Who you wind up against. I'll give you an example. Non-American Olympian Kasha Zhu in the '88 Olympics. Kasha Zhu in the '88 Olympics lost in the quarterfinals, a 3-2 split decision to the East German that won the gold medal. Okay, and he lost in the quarterfinals, so he doesn't medal. Okay, by '91, he's winning the world championships, beating Vernon Forrest in the finals. He would have been the favorite in the '92 Olympics, but he turned pro instead. He stayed in Sydney for the '91 World Championships. After that, he just turned pro with a Sydney-based group and lived that his career in Australia instead of going to the '92 Olympics in Barcelona, where he would have been the favorite. But in '88, people don't realize Kasha was in the '88 Olympics. The draws kind of screwed him. He loses a 3-2 split, and that was if you look at the run of that East German fighter, he dominates everybody else. So the gold medal fight was essentially in the quarterfinals between him and Kasha, and he ends up beating Kasha, I think, at the European Games in '89. I think Kasha beats him in '90. There was a good rivalry there with Kasha and this guy before he turned pro. Either way, it's little things that you look between the numbers, and when you watch these amateur rivalries, and you see certain things, and one of those things is the draw. World championships, everything. Everybody's the same. Everybody's there, but the draw matters a lot too.
That's the pitfall of the bracket system. We came from wrestling, so depending on who you draw, really affects what kind of final you
Miguel
get.
Cotto in the 2000 Olympics drew the Olympic gold medal favorite, Muhammad Abdullayev, who had just won the '99 World Amateur Championships. Cotto draws him in the first fight of the 2000 Olympics, gets eliminated.
But he got him in the pros.
Cotto got him back in the pros, of course. He fought in the pros. But what I'm saying is, you lose your chance at the gold medal in the prelims because the draw screws you. Cotto probably could have made his way into the medal round had he had a different draw. The bracket system helps or hurts you. And I've seen some weak gold medal winners because of the bracket system. Where you sort of benefit and you make your way through into the medal rounds and you wind up with certain medals. It works both ways.
Ben Askren at the Olympics drew the same pool as Bubis Harasaitiev, is the greatest to ever do it, and I was like hanging out of his pool. Ivan Fondor from Cuba beat him. I was like, you got Cuba and Russia in the same pool.
Difficult job.
You ain't getting out. In wrestling, you ain't getting out.
It's a bad dream.
Right.
Your
that's
dream
like boxing.
is
You have Russia and
accomplished. You
Cuba
get
in
the
the
Olympics.
same pool. You ain't getting out.
Your dream is accomplished. You get there. You're like, oh man. Of all the draws, it happens.
It's the way it works. Interesting question here. What was the greatest modern boxing rivalry? It talks about Canelo versus Triple G. Was it Mayweather versus Pacquiao? The greatest boxing rivalry in modern times. What do you guys think it is? Let's say this century.
Easy. Barrios Morales.
Yeah.
Hands down. No question. Best trilogy of all time. Highest level.
Gotti Ward as well.
Gotti Ward, sure, but just the
level wasn't there.
The level wasn't the same. Barrera and Morales are two Mexican legends fighting in their primes.
What time era is he talking about this century?
It says there's
a lot of great rivalries.
It says, was Canelo versus Triple G the greatest? Was it Mayweather versus Pacquiao? So I'm assuming last 15 years, let's say. 15 years, 20 years. The kids these days, what would they know?
Nobody rematches anymore, bro.
Yeah,
that's hard.
So nobody does that anymore.
But also,
especially when the A side gets out of there, like for Canelo, for example, why would that rivalry with Triple G be a great rivalry? He robbed him in the first one
because the fights were so
arguably
good.
Robbed him in the second one, and then waited 10 years to give.
The fights were the first two fights were so good.
But it's a null and void because he waited 75 years to give him the third fight because he knew the guy was older.
We're looking at guys who did the same thing right behind Jimmy. You got Sugar Ray Leonard who fights Duran, loses to him, forces
and runs away.
the
Yeah.
rematch in 4 months
Yeah.
because he knows Duran is going to go party.
Yeah.
Beats him in the rematch in a
Yeah,
weird scenario,
well, you know
and then
what,
waits 10 fucking
listen,
years.
Leonard is very guilty of doing a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so-
that's where
it's A-side
everybody
stuff, as you're
loves.
saying.
Everybody
Yeah.
loves believe me, I love Ray Leonard too. Everybody loved the whole Leonard thing. Look at what Leonard did when he had a controversial win, and look at what Floyd did when he did a controversial win. Everybody wants to do the whole Floyd-Leonard comparison. Floyd gave you instant rematches, instantaneous.
All right.
Another great rivalry, even though it wasn't a bunch of fights, and the fight actually wasn't that great, was Trinidad and De La Hoya. That rivalry of a Mexican Puerto Rican at the highest
That
level
fight
possible.
That fight was dudded. I don't
It
know.
was
it was almost impossible to be a dud, and somehow
And it
it was
was,
a dud.
yeah, and it was.
That's why you just can't predict it.
De La
They were on a good run, and they met at what you would see
Prime.
what would seem to be the perfect time
and
as
De La
far
Hoya
as the
was
runs they were
killing
on.
him. Started running.
Yeah, and De La Hoya was looking great in his career, and Trinidad was looking great in his career, and I mean it was
Two dominant champions, undefeated, fighting in their prime.
It was so big.
That was I can't believe to this. If you look at put yourself before that, what they were doing before that, and if you were living it in real time, the way that fight played out makes no sense. Like wow, it's like how'd that become such a dud? They were on such a good run, and it was like it happened at the perfect time, which never happens anymore.
How
you know?
about Fury Wilder for this era?
Yeah,
Heavyweight.
Yeah,
Boom!
Yeah,
That's the one.
That's the one, Jimmy.
That's
Good call.
that guy. That's
I
it. That's the
try.
one.
I hit the
Fury
occasional
Wilder.
knockout.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one. That's day one.
Jimmy, you
That's
win.
the- That's
You
the
know
one.
what?
I
You win.
appreciate
Fury
that.
Wilder. That was a good ass rivalry. You know what?
Good rivalry, and also I think Fury clearly the better fighter as we saw throughout, but man, they gave it all. They really had entertaining fights. It had that combination of high level and that they were at the top.
Oh, no,
But they
super
really
high.
went for
And
it.
then the surprise of a third one where you're like, come on, with this third one.
You just
And-
talking right out of my
Go ahead,
mouth.
go ahead,
Because I
finish the
was
point.
going to say, like, it's similarity between Ward and Gotti, where Gotti, first fight, I mean, just epic, just unbelievable, also upset. Gotti was supposed to win that fight. Essentially, at that point, Mickey Ward was a journeyman. And a very high level, don't get me wrong, I'm not using that word in a derogatory way, but Gotti was, world champion, on his way to another world title fight coming up. They fight. Mickey wins. They get a rematch. Gotti dominates the second fight. Breaks his hand. The only reason Ward probably survives the fight. Dominates the second fight. Third fight, we're like, we're making it because we want Mickey to make $1 million, basically. Well, let's make sure Mickey gets paid. Fight turns out to be the best one. Gotti breaks his hand again.
No, I don't know
Gotti
the
gets
best
dropped.
one. The first was
was
the
the
best
best
one,
one.
but Mickey dropped him.
You expected the fight to be nothing. Also,
Yeah.
Mickey busts his eardrum in the second fight. Never the same guy ever again after that.
Yeah.
And still goes out there and fights like tooth and nail in that third fight.
yeah.
So now then we compare Tyson and Wilder. First fight, unbelievable. Crazy knockdown at the end. Looks like he's completely done. Rises like the Undertaker, gets up, finishes the fight. We get a draw.
He wins the rest of the round, which is crazy.
Yes, crazy. Second fight, beats the brakes off of Wilder. Walks him down, beats him up. Big brothers him the whole time. So then third fight, you're like, all right, he's got his number. He knows what he needs to do.
We know the deal.
Yeah, we know the deal. Nope, gets dropped multiple times.
Wow.
Roars back.
That's, I mean, the surprise of how good the third fight was makes that rivalry. It encapsulates it. Like, okay, you know what? That's the one. That's the one.
That's
Best
the
rivalry of modern times. That's the one. Fury
It
Wilder.
And they weren't at the end of their careers like Mickey and Gotti were.
And Pacquiao Mayweather, I think I never include that in my rivalry list because the fight was a dud.
No.
They
That was
never
a,
had
that was a
multiple-
fan rivalry.
It was a fan rivalry. It was one of those where you go, yeah, they woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Yeah.
The product in the ring didn't show us that. The product in the ring didn't show us greatness. When you look at Morales Barrera, it was like it's
Yeah.
neither guy was walking out there losing. They couldn't comprehend going out there. Pacquiao,
Marquez and Pacquiao too in this
Marquez
century.
Pacquiao. It was just absolutely. Anytime, by the way, we're going to talk about it later. We're going to talk
Marquez
about
and Pacquiao it comes into the last 15 years. The last one was in 2012.
Yes. Anytime you get 4 of a fight, it's a big deal.
Marquez
because
and
there's got to be a reason.
Marquez
to get 4.
and Israel Vasquez too, the brother.
Yep.
that's
There
another
was
one.
just
Cool.
an anniversary for that.
We will discuss that in a minute because the anniversary there. Last question from the mailbag. What is the biggest single victory in Mexican boxing history? I'm old. I have my favorite. You guys first.
You put me on a spot like that. There's so
I
many
love it.
big victories
You
in
wanna do mine?
Mexicans.
I'll do
Yeah,
mine
do
first.
yours.
I'm old. It's hard to comprehend sitting here if you weren't there and didn't see it and weren't around for it. I was 13 years old. Chavez Meldrick Taylor was huge.
That was a steal. They stole that fight.
Chavez-
Come on.
but
that's not the biggest victory in Mexican.
I'm sorry. That
he
was huge.
stole that fight. He
That-
stole it.
Yeah,
Meldrick-
I agree. But the size of the victory and what it represented at the time. By the way, little trivia for you. You guys ready? The title fight for a world championship with the most combined wins without a loss, Chavez Taylor. A combined like 96 wins between them. Chavez was 66-0. Taylor was, I think, 33-0. So it was like 99 wins.
I'm gonna go old as well.
Please.
But there's some really big ones nowadays. But I'm gonna go historian style.
You better not steal mine. You son of a.
What
he stole it.
Was it?
Okay, say it together. Salvador
Gomez.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Mexican, Puerto Rican.
Oh, so big.
Salvador Sanchez and Gomez. That fight. I actually not to steal your spot, but
because I could pick another one from now.
I had an old. I was at my martial arts dojo where I was training. We rented space to this boxer, and this guy, and he came in and he found out that I was a boxing fan. He could tell how much I love the sport. I'm a teenager at this point, but I was still doing martial arts and doing kickboxing. And him and I would chat every day. And we talk. Finally one day he's like, "You really love this, don't you?" And I go, "Yeah, man, absolutely." He goes, "I got a VHS tape with some great fights on it." He goes, "But I gotta have it back." This is in like the early 2000s. Now, even though it's 90, this is in the 90s. And he was like, took my address down. He's like, "I'll come get this thing. You got to give this back." I'm like, "Of course."
Yeah, it was a big deal back then.
Big deal. Having a VHS, because it's not like now you just did a DVD to download it, you're good. Yeah, YouTube it. Yeah. So yes, and that fight was on there, and I was like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." Like it was, from then on, I was like, people talk about Mexican greats. I was always Salvador Sanchez.
I don't care underrated.
What the hell you're talking about. He's not though, because if you
know
know
boxing,
people who know who he is. What else was on there was Duran and De Jesus.
Yep.
I think the second fight, which was brutal. Azuma Nelson was on there with Salvador Sanchez. That fight was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I wish I had met that tape still.
Mexico's biggest win, another one since
I think I know what you're going to say.
Marquez over Pacquiao.
Yeah,
the knockout of Pacquiao. The way, not just the win, but the way he got it. I think that was a big one. I got rained on. I got rained on with so much beer. And I was in the arena.
You were there.
I was there. I got rained on with so much beer from the Mexicans, just jumping up and in the
exultation.
Joy. I don't know if to this day I don't know if the beer was thrown on purpose in celebration or if they just jumped out of their seat and just plopped up into the air. But it came from all over the arena. It was like raining beer for the instant.
And especially because Pacquiao was such a Mexican destroyer. He was such a Mexican assassin.
If it was beer, if it was beer, I'm assuming it was beer. But
he almost always.
I mean, he stopped Eric Morales. He stopped Barrera. He was a Mexican assassin.
Retired him. They just stopped him.
So that's a big win for Mexico. That's a big boxing win for Mexico. Was the exclamation point to end that rivalry.
And it was so final.
Let me tell you, man, Marquez wants to end it with that exclamation point because I heard even this comeback of Pacquiao, it was offered to Marquez, and he's like, nope.
Yeah, what the how are you going to top that?
Yeah. He's like, no,
I'm good.
That Marquez is like, that rivalry's ending on your face, bro. That's it.
All right, and I heard from another boxing fan. Let's discuss this. I heard from another boxing fan that goes, it doesn't matter Pacquiao won more. When Marquez won, you were face down.
Yeah.
He wins that
it's
rivalry.
Final. Yeah,
right,
final.
like I win that rivalry. I won the last one.
Juan Manuel got up every time.
By the way, people are appreciating the knowledge we're spitting.
Rex, thank you.
Right. It's this idea that there's almost always, for the big Mexican victories, there's almost always a nationalistic, you versus me, our side versus your side. It was the Philippines versus Mexico in that big knockout. I remember the first, obviously the loaded wraps aside, that first Margarito Cotto fight was absolutely huge for Mexican in Southern California. It was absolutely huge. Now, of course, it's tainted now that we know about what was going on with the loaded wraps and everything. And just wearing, I remember Cotto taking that knee and just breaking him down. What an incredible moment that was for the Mexican fans. And then Cotto comes back, destroys him in the rematch, and says his punches didn't feel. All this stuff that all the subplots make these fights great.
Dramatics, soap opera stuff.
It is the dramatics. It is the soap opera stuff. It is everything that kind of comes in together to make a great fight. Yep. And that moment, when I look at great fights, the reason Chavez Taylor stands out so much to me is it represented Chavez did this and Taylor was never the same guy. It's also retroactively what it did to both guys, how it elevated Chavez and Taylor was never the same fighter afterward. The dramatics of...
It's too unfair to me. I can't give it that one.
It's a tough one, man. It is. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you. But what Chavez ended up doing he became a legend. I mean, he was a legend before that, but that just solidified him as a legend for all time for that fight. Yeah. It's incredible. And I was a big Mildred Taylor fan. I thought he was great.
Yeah. And And I think Duven Benton steered Taylor wrong going into the 12th. No, that's not talked about enough. They absolutely.
What we're talking about, by the way,
they absolutely lost the fight for him.
Is Melty Taylor was ahead. All he had to do was dance and throw some jabs and
just get to the final belt.
You have to understand what you have in front of you as the corner man. You have to understand.
And Chavez can light you up with a punch.
Not only that, but your instructions have to resonate with what's in front of you. And I know you always wanted the whole cliche of you have to finish strong and stereotypically you have to finish strong and all this stuff. You have a guy who's likely ahead, and looking back, he was ahead when we found out the scorecard.
Yes.
And he was also busted up.
And the sand is running out of the hourglass fast. So I know you want to finish strong. Yeah, well, all the rah-rah stuff. But as a trainer, as the experienced people in the corner, you have a 23-year-old phenom in front of you whose gas tank is running low and he's winning the fight. Guide him to the end of the fight. You don't guide him with all your experience. The most moronic corner instructions I've ever heard in the history of boxing.
Gotta go after him, champ.
We're in level. You got to take it to him. You got to go after him. Whatever.
You need this round.
You need this round here. Yeah, Mel. I can still hear Benton's voice saying, "You need this round here, Mel. You need this round here." I cannot believe. I cannot believe that they just watched 11 rounds of what they watched, both from the performance end of Meldrick's performance, which is amazing, and then the fact that he's damaged going into round 12. And that's what you come up with as instructions between 11 and 12? Really? That was the best you could give the guy who's in dire need of instructions. He's 23 years old, on the verge of accomplishing a dream most people will never accomplish. Like, that's what you came up with, bro? Like, I said, there's a bitterness to that fight for me. It's almost.
It was cliches. They were throwing cliches.
Yeah, but there's a lot of cliches, but there's a moment for cliches. Like in Chavez's corner, they were also cliches. Buffalo Martin, the cliches apply. Do it for your family, for Mexico.
Yeah.
Bro,
Mexico.
And whatever works to get Chavez to go after the guy because he needs the knockout.
It's not just fighters who get caught up in moments.
That cliche really applies in Chavez's corner. So in Chavez's corner, it's brilliant. You give whatever motivation you can give him. You need all the rah-rah you can get. There's no more game planning. You just got to knock this guy out somehow. Go get him.
Okay, but trainers are human. They make faults too. Listen, I'll give you the polar opposite example. 12th round going into my fight with Ruslan. I got two kickboxing coaches in front of me. Did I need that round? Yes, I did. It was a very close fight. We didn't know who was winning. I was damaged. I had a broken orbital and a broken nose. I was bleeding from every orifice in my face. You know what they told me? Be smart, win the round. Be smart, win the round. You got it. You use your momentum. Use what you're doing. Stay long. Use around. Mind you, I was blind in my right eye. I couldn't see at all. I was talking to you the other day. No depth perception at all. I just went out there and went busy, but I knew not to get hit anymore. Yeah, and my corner told me that. They got to be careful, but go win the round. It's a different kind of. You got to bang with him. You need it big. It wasn't anything like that. It was like, stay calm. Being calm hasn't worked all night. Just stay calm. But yeah, people get caught up in moments, and trainers are human too.
One of the things I try to say, and it's not always easy. It is what it is. As a coach, now fighting days are done. I help people out every now and then. Don't coach full time. A coach can't get caught up in a fighter's delusions.
Yes.
A fighter can have delusions. I think
fighter needs a delusion.
A fighter could need a delusion. That can be a motivator. That can be this. That can be that. I can beat anybody. Coach cannot participate in a fighter's delusions. If he thinks he's ahead, you still look at him and go, no, you aren't. As your coach said, you need this round, whatever it is. I'm going to go out and finish strong. No, you won't. I know you're 23 and you think you want to finish strong in this 12th round. No, you do not. You will move. You will stick and move, throw a couple of jabs out there, wave at the crowd. I don't care what you do. Don't fight this guy. You can't you talk about the emotions carrying away. A coach can't do that. A coach can't get carried away in emotions. Fair or not, Paulie?
100% fair. I mean, it's the most important thing. Cornerman's instructions can make or break the fight. I mean, sometimes you have a fighter that's so talented like Roy Jones, where the corner just has to not mess up and just they can be very generic, and Roy will just handle everything else. You have that kind of talent, or the chemistry that Floyd had with his uncle and his father, because it's just a lifelong connection, and the instructions can be very specific to and generic to what they do because they already know their style.
Teddy Atlas cheerleads, but like he's very emotional, very rah-rah in the corner. That's his style.
Teddy's a technical trainer. No, Teddy's both. Teddy can be technical as well as psychological. Teddy, but there's a lot of technique.
He gets the fire out of you.
But he knows how to motivate you. But Teddy also understands when it's time to motivate you, because there's also a time for motivation and there's a time for instruction. There's a time for both. The timing is everything, man. And it's in real time too. Like the fight is happening in real time. You can't script the fight. The fight is going to go the way it's going to go. So your instructions also have to be adjustable in the way they're going to go as well. That's part of the skill of doing that. like I said, it can be the difference maker. Sometimes, there's a lot of things that can be a difference maker. Obviously, the camp you had, the work you put in the gym, and so on and so forth. Whether you came into the fight sharp and so on and so forth. But on the night, there are times where with a fight hanging in the balance so close, sometimes the corner instructions make the difference.
Emmanuel Stewart, I'm smacking the chest of Lennox Lewis. I remember Angelo Dundee. You're blowing it, son. Everybody has their motivation.
Sometimes it's just that simple.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's time for Outside the Ropes and a little inside information when we come back.
Saturday, March 21st, ProBox TV invades the NOS Event Center as Lester Martinez and Emmanuel Aleem battle for the WBC World Super Middleweight title. Palmdale's Joshua Kevin Anton battles the Uzbeki Punisher. LA is in the house as Anthony Too Quick Cuba defends home turf against Brooklyn's Wesley Farrell, while Sam Contreras takes on Cesar Cantu.
Now time for Outside the Ropes, the business of boxing. We get a little inside information. Chris, I'm going to do something I normally don't do. Just turn it over to you, my man. Go ahead.
Yes, we got some more information. So we were talking about the Virgil Ortiz, Oscar De La Hoya,
Boots Ennis,
Matchroom, Rick Meridian, whole
Eddie
different
Hearn.
thing.
Let's name everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we covered what we could from what the information we had yesterday, and tried to be as unbiased as possible based on whatever information we had. We're also not legal lawyers. We don't have the contracts in front of us, but we got some more information, and we're trying to figure out why this fight's not happening, right? Because really, at the end of the day, that's what people want to know about. They want to know why is the fight not occurring? And we've done multiple shows on this over the past couple of weeks. Who to blame? Is it this guy's fault? Is it the fighter's fault? Is it the promoter's fault? Is it the manager's fault? But we always know that things are a lot more complicated than they seem, and it's all speculation and opinion. But I did hear from a source, that it's more of an issue of fighter pay and what the deal is. I've heard that the offer to Ortiz was around about $3 million, with an upside of over 200 buys on pay-per-view, which during the era that we live in now, 200,000. Excuse me. But in the era that we live in now with piracy, getting 200,000 can be tough. So it seems like it may be just basically the only guarantee is the money that you're going to get. Which in this market, in this stage, that kind of fight, it's not really a whole lot of money. So it seems that it's more
without Turkey involved anymore.
But it's basically we're basically in a two-tier system. Because there's the market where Turkey's involved and the guys are getting upwards of 10, 15. Even more millions of dollars, but then even in the the older tier of a fight of the magnitude of Virgil Ortiz and Gervonta Ennis, you think that's a fair number this year, this time of?
Yeah, I mean, there
could
easily be more, but again, I mean, without the Turkey Al-Ashik money
influx, flux of
the market sort of starts to stabilize at a lower number again,
So then you have this reminds me similar of like how my fight with Pacquiao went, where again it was two promoters. It was Top Rank, who had Ruslan. I'm sorry, had Pacquiao, and it had Star Boxing, Joe DeGuardia, who had me, and they had to come together with a price, and then the number came to me, and initially I was like, that's not enough money for this fight. So I'm gonna fight tooth and nail to get more, but I'm not fighting with Top Rank. I was fighting with my own promoter. So that's kind of the situation that we see now. So I was my own manager at the time, so I didn't have someone to go to bat for me, so to speak, kind of the way that it seems like Rick Meridian is. So this is why this is happening this way. So he's doing his, he's going to bat for his fighter, which is, again, like what I did in that situation. Now, take what you will, like, do you take the $3 million? Do you think that's enough? If you don't think it's enough, do you go to bat? And apparently in the contract, there's some wiggle room to be able to negotiate outside of that, and that's where all this is coming in. Again, haven't been able to look at the contract, but I would love for anybody from Golden Boy to come up on here and talk to us.
Please,
even Rick to come, because we are all just speculating, and these are birdies in my ear telling me these things.
Yeah, and also maybe $3 million is good if your upside on the pay-per-view starts at 0 instead of at 200,000 buys, or if it starts at 50,000 buys instead of 200,000 buys. There's different ways you can negotiate it.
200,000 buys in our era was not that much.
No, but piracy is much more has much more of an influx now. So yeah, there's different levels of negotiation that you're dealing with here. It's not just the flat number, because people look at home may look at the flow. Oh, it's $3 million. It's an offer. It's not enough. It's not just the $3 million. The upside matters a lot too, when that starts and when that doesn't start, and certain other things as well. Sometimes it's more simplistic things: tickets, flights, hotels. Training camp money, whatever. It goes down the line. But yeah, there's that would be great if somebody directly involved may get a chance to speak here. If we would definitely like it, I think.
Yeah, confirm or deny the information, because $3 million seems like an incredible lowball when Conor Benn gets 15-minute fight Regis program.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem with destabilizing the market,
what?
Right?
Yes.
That's the problem with destabilizing the market, and all that stuff. When money comes in or a side comes in and destabilizes the market, because Conor Benn, is he really a $15 million fighter? Probably not, but he's got a crazy amount of popularity and all that other stuff. So maybe he is. It's again, the destabilization of the market causes these rifts, down ripple effects, and it goes down the line.
Well, based on previous experience too, Chris, if Virgil Ortiz is the A side and the offer is $3 million, he's the one at least putting butts in seats if Vegas is considered, right? Which is what we're thinking. He's Mexican American, big fan base. He puts butts in seats. He's the A side. He's getting $3 million.
Well, so that's again, that's going to be the argument from side Ortiz, like all those points that you just made. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
is he really the guy who's pushing the narrative that because he's got the Mexican fan base, he sells more tickets than Boots does on the East Coast? Like, I don't know. And these are all arguments that you would make if you're on either side. Because then if you're on that side, of course you're gonna say, well, yeah, but we're the A side because just all the things Oscar's saying. We're the A side because we fought the tough proposition, even though we talked about yesterday, maybe not. I sell all the I'm going to move the tickets because I have the Mexican fan base. Yeah, well, maybe not on the East Coast because Gervonta sells out really well too. So that's the argument where it's not for us to decide whether $3 million is enough or not. But the idea is that's where the breakdown in negotiations is happening. Over that is what it seems.
And what does this tell you moving forward? I mean, it is obviously we're in the middle of a gigantic legal wrangling between Golden Boy, Rick Mergian, and Ortiz. This might not even get unraveled within the next 6 or 8 months at the earliest. It's a gigantic quagmire over a fight that we all want to see. But I thought at least the preliminary number, I know this is all speculative, but that's a really low preliminary number for me. I thought we were dealing with much higher numbers at this point with a fight of this magnitude that everyone wants to see at 154 pounds. These are two of the pound for pound best.
But there's no title on the line. There's no world title on the line. I don't know. There's a lot of upside with these two guys. Probably one of the biggest All-American fights that can be made, but there's also a lot missing. World championships are missing.
Profile. I mean,
yeah,
they're both good, but they're not the crossover guys. Like
not on the Wheaties box.
For example, like when I fought Ruslan, I fought a very, very low number. My next fight was Pacquiao, and it was a big number, really big number. And it's like it's that upside where you're fighting one of those guys. And yeah, it's like you got two guys who are, in our world, super high level and understanding what their earning potential is.
And also you have to compare it to what they've been compensated prior to this. If they've made around $3 million already, then of course now you're gonna expect a lot more for this fight.
I've heard that Virgil is around about. These are the kinds of numbers that he's been doing.
So if that's the case, yeah, of course he's going to want more for this fight because now you got him used to that number already. So this is a much bigger fight. So I got all those variables matter.
Who looks better with this number? Is it De La Hoya saying, "Look, we're only going to get $3 million from this fight"? Why not fight some other dude?
I'm going to reiterate what I said before. It's not just the $3 million. It's the pay-per-view upside. It has to be negotiated. It's tickets. There's a lot of other stuff too. There's a lot of other variables involved as opposed to the $3 million flat fee. There's things that they can up your position as well.
A lot. Pay-per-view points go a long way, way. And I think people at home may not understand that. They probably just think, that, like you said, the $3 million. So $3 million is great. Who makes $3 million, on a weekend, fight, in a non-title fight, it's a risky fight, but some people are going to look at it like that. But when the market's a little bit different than that, and also when there's potential to make more, you don't want to leave it on the table. Trying to get as much money as possible for each and every negotiation is always a job of your fighter and of the manager. So I don't know. It's getting more complicated as we get more information. That's usually how it goes, right? The more you know, the more you don't know. But again, we would love to have anybody on here who could explain this a little bit better, has a little more intimate knowledge of the scenario and the contracts and how they seem look right now. But I don't know. This is complicated, like you said, Jimmy. It could take a while.
Is it worth the risk to you if you are Virgil Ortiz and how difficult this fight is? Is $3 million in the ballpark of the risk, or is it just skewed where $3 million is not worth the risk of fighting somebody like Boots Ennis? We know how good 54 is. Not a lot of places to run and hide, but is fighting Boots Ennis at this point in his career worth $3 million or a hell of a lot more? I would think it would be a hell of a lot more.
It's a fighter gambling on themselves. For the potential huge upside with the win, you take the short money now and look to make big money next time. I don't know. That's entirely up to how you feel about the fight and your team. But again, when it comes to fighters and the money, it's not always the whole picture. So I don't know. It's easy. It's easy from sitting in a chair and going like, take the $3 million. If you can beat him, you can beat him. Go get that $3 million, then you go make more later. Which is how a lot of people I think who look at this situation go. But I don't know. It's more complicated than that.
Another thing is that the people never look at in this situation. I think it's the same thing for the NFL or any contact sport. Number one, I'm going to be in pain the rest of my life. I'm in pain. You're in pain. You're in pain. We all are from our combat sports lives, right? Whatever. I hear that crack. You hear that snapping as you put your knee up.
That was my knee.
I've got it. You've got it. You've got it. All right. This idea of whatever I make, I got to take that to the rest of my life. I cannot be an attorney till I'm 60. Our job doesn't last that long. So people that go, oh, this NFL player is greedy, this NFL player is this NFL player is not going to be able to walk a flight of steps for most of his life. And for that, I want X millions of dollars for a lot of reasons. Number one is the pain. Number two, I have to make everything I make by the time I am, 30? Boxing, if you're a heavyweight, mid-30s? Sure, maybe they can go to 40. Right, it's a small window to make all the money you're going to make for the rest of your life. Paulie, how much do people not appreciate that when it comes to combat sports? I've heard that a lot. Oh, he wants this amount of money. I was like, you can work. What's your job? Well, I'm a school teacher. Yeah, my mom was a school teacher for 35 years. Yeah. She didn't stop till she was like 70. Yeah. Why? She's a school teacher. She can do that. Yeah. I can't fight till I'm 70. Yeah. I have to make all the money I can.
You're always one fight away from the market bottoming out from you. Right. You're one bad performance away from the market being taken away from you. So you try to grab as much as you can each and every fight because one bad performance drops your value, or you get hurt permanently, or you get hurt in a way where you can't be the same kind of fighter. Again, the market gets taken away from you real fast. You may be at this market one day and a low market the next time. And like you said, the money you're making in this career has to last you. It has to, in the very least, give you a head start on the rest of your life, in the very least. At very best, it's got to last you the rest of your life. So either way, you're trying to maximize each and every single opportunity, because each and every single opportunity could be the last one you have in this type of lifestyle, in this type of work environment, in this kind of career. Because like I said, the market bottoms out from under you, you get hurt, and I'm not talking about even permanent brain damage or anything. I'm talking about even injuries that, hands, joints, things that, change the way you fight, or
my knee injury changed my entire career.
Affect your ability to be effective. So, there's a lot of links in the picture that sometimes are easy to forget about when we're talking about a negotiation of this level.
Which is why people fight tooth and nail for everything they can get, and why sometimes fights don't occur when they should.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this fight needs to build up? Hearing these numbers now, do you think the play now would be somebody gets a world title, if not both of them, circle back for more money as champions? Because Paulie said one of the problems with this not making the money that I would expect is no world title on the line. Chris?
No, because I want them to fight now. I want them to fight now. Listen, I want fighters to make all the money possible. I love when fighters get overpaid, whatever that means, because I don't agree with that. If you're fighting, you're fighting. You deserve it. But these guys, I want them to fight now. It matters when they fight. The world is ready for this fight at the moment. It's one of the biggest fights that could be made on American soil, with two top flight guys who have both have potential to be superstars. I want the fight now. And in terms of how much money is in the pot right now, I don't know if they can find more money. I don't know if there's money out there. If there's somebody else listening, I think we know who we're talking about. Maybe we can get this to happen. I don't know. The boxing gods, I think, want this fight to happen. So let's get this thing going.
And before we let you go, one thing we talked about earlier, Jai Opetaia was going to be has the option of keeping his IBF title or maybe being stripped by the IBF if he fights for the Zuffa title. When we originally talked about this, the poll we had online had 71% suggesting the IBF should strip him. Now at the end of show, it's 48-52, almost 50-50 from the fans. We appreciate you giving us your opinions. We'll be listening to the fans and talking to you next time right here on Boxing Scene Today Live. Enjoy.
Saturday, March 21st, ProBox TV invades the NOS Event Center as Lester Martinez and Emmanuel Aleem battle for the WBC World Super Middleweight title. Palmdale's Joshua Kevin Anton battles the Uzbeki Punisher. LA is in the house as Anthony Too Quick Cuba defends home turf against Brooklyn's Wesley Farrell, while Sam Contreras takes on Cesar Cantu.